There I was, innocently chatting with 8-year-olds about sex online, when out of nowhere, what's happening? No! Starbucks! I can always count on you. One latte, please.
You think we're gonna give coffee to a gay? So you can be gay even faster? I don't think so.
No!
I cast thee out, sodomite!
Somebody, please, help me. A friend hasn't told me I'm special in 4 minutes.
I don't personally endorse every sexual taste you have.
People have other things to do in life than pander to you.
No! Stop it! Stop it!
I'm not gonna let you show porn to my child!
No!
Yeah!
No! You turned me straight! I wasn't able to show porn to your child and I'm straight now!
Oh, that was funny. That was really good. That was so good. That was funny. That was really good. Oh, was I boomering my Nah. That was good. Oh my God, that was really, 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 really good. Kudos to you, Wes. That was awesome. Oh my gosh. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to my program. I am your host, Joe Neerman, aka Good Lawgic, during these trying times. Oh my God, Mommy and Daddy are fighting. Who's going to get the kids? But what about the children? During domestic squabbles, it's always the children who suffer the most. Always. Always. Oh my gosh. No, say it ain't so. Say it ain't so. Oh my God. It is so. It is so for all intents and purposes. Elon Musk, wealthiest man on the planet, perhaps in human history, arguably, you can say he's the wealthiest man in human history. He's at war with the most powerful individual on the planet, that being our honorable and great leader, President Donald John Trump. They are at war. It's official. All but the declaration. Congress hasn't acted yet, although they're supposed to be doing that soon, as we're going to see tonight. I got a link saying Congress getting involved here. Yeah. Now this is a war. This is getting ugly. It's getting ugly. So Pride Month is officially canceled. Sorry, gayos. It's canceled. we have a war to cover. And that's not even referencing the potential for World War III that Death Angels is very concerned about. He's very, very concerned about. If you know, you know. It's a joke from what happened in Locals. Tonight's show has been brought to you courtesy of the Diggers in Locals. They just threw out links at me. Link. They just threw out the links at me. I said, look, we're focusing here. We're focusing on the war between Trump and Musk. This is where we're going. And for a few reasons. Number one, awesome thumbnail. Number two, because this can have long-term repercussions, and it's going to cause a fracture in the GOP, and I, as the spokesman for sane thought, need to weigh in and let you know what I believe is a healthy approach. And I'm probably going to take calls at some point for those of you who are too lazy to work your way on over to the Diggers, because you'll see there. Did I link it in? I think I linked it. Yeah, I did. I think it's linked in there. It should be linked in there. You should be seeing it. It should be everywhere. And that to the Diggers who have been giving me links. And if you have links, stuff related to the topic, okay, I don't want to hear about your 2011 St. Louis Cardinals or something. It's got to be on topic. That I will share that. Also, there's a goal tonight. What's the goal, Joe? Tell us the goal. The goal is if we get 15 yellows in 2 hours tomorrow when I appear on the War Room, which is supposed to be at 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern, that I'm supposed to be making an appearance on the War Room with the esteemed Owen Schroyer, that I'll give you guys a shout out. I'll give you a shout out. I'll sweeten the pot. I'm going to sweeten the pot. Not only will I give a shout out, but I'll make a shout out to the chat and a special reference to whoever is tonight's biggest contributor to the show. I'll say to the chat and blank, whoever that person is. I just want to express my gratitude for the amazing contribution to the show. Could be Pam Ronning. Woohoo! I can send super chats again. Thank God. Wait, isn't KJP the Grand Marshal of the Pride Parade? Another gig down. Man down, man down. Yes. Pride Month is canceled. It is canceled. Why? Because there's a war. There's a war between Elon and Trump. And a lot of folks thought they never see the day. A lot of folks thought that, this was a marriage that was going to last forever. We should focus on the touchstone moment when this war really got just really kicked off, which was probably it's been brewing because Elon has been bristling about the big beautiful bill, and we're going to talk a little bit about the big beautiful bill, and I'll give you my thoughts on the big beautiful bill. Elon is not a fan at all. Been screaming at his followers on X that you need to call your local congressman and tell him to kill the big beautiful bill. Donald Trump not too happy about that because with a name like Big Beautiful Bill, it's got his big beautiful cojones all over it. With a name like that, that it might be sponsored by, I don't know, by Congressman Yahoo, but this has Trump's fingers all over it when you're labeling it the big beautiful bill. He really wants this bill to pass, and Elon Musk has been working very hard against it, and that set Trump off, and he went off today when he was meeting with the German chancellor. I don't know, some German guy. Do you really care? Do you really care about who he was meeting with? No one cares. Some German. I assume it's not an actual Yahtzee. I assume it's someone who at least, is doing a good job of hiding the Yahtzee hood that is invariably running through that streak in his blood. But yes, he was sitting with some. Is it a chancellor? Is it a chancellor? And we're going to talk about the clowns who say stuff like this. I'm definitely going to talk about this because I'm going to tell you that this was predictable that the clowns would pick up on Elon referencing the whole Epstein thing. I'm going to talk about that because you have to be, you're either trolling, which I assume most of these folks are, or you're an ignoramus if you actually think that Trump is all over the Epstein files. But I'm going to get into that also. I'm going to get into that also. So there's a lot to talk about with respect to this. A, we need to understand how this feud got started. B, we need to understand who's right, who's wrong. Well, I also want to show you how the feud's been unfolding. And so how it got started, how it's been unfolding, who's right, who's wrong, what's a healthy approach, what's likely to happen between Trump, different theories about what's actually going on behind the scenes between Trump and Elon. And I'm probably going to end up taking calls at some point tonight. I expect this is probably going to be a longer show than I've done in a few days. I expect that this show is probably going to be going on and on and on. We'll see. Because I got lots to say on this topic. I think this is a fascinating thing. And I'll tell you that this is not the first time we've seen this type of fight. I have a good analogy that I referenced if you caught me on Spaces, which I threw up in locals at goodlogic.locals.com. That's goodlogic.locals.com. I actually said that this reminds me of another feud that I saw eons ago, and a feud I'll never forget. And I'm going to talk about that, assuming I remember. So there you go. There you go. Anthony's saying, here's to start things right off right. Let's hit this goal. Amen. Amen. Someone said the goal was a Diddy part. No. No, 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 no. I will say this. I did not drop a second video this afternoon on Diddy. Those of you who joined me since you found me on Diddy, you're wondering, Joe, what the heck happened to the second video? We don't know what happened this afternoon. I'm not going to spend very long talking about this. Under 30 seconds, I'll tell you this. The second person who's alleging that they were trafficked testified this afternoon. And it's very similar to what we heard from Cassie. She's acting under the pseudonym Jane. And it's very early in her direct. This is a direct that's going to go probably all day tomorrow. And her testimony is probably going to go for like 4 days. And it seems like, basically he made her fall in love with him, according to him. That, he chased her. And then once he got her, he started Cassieing her. And the relationship was between 2021 and 2024, with a little break in the middle there. And it ended when he got arrested. And the state says that she's been physically abused, although we haven't heard anything about that yet. That's what I'll give you on that. Okay? That's your nutshell, Diddy. That's your Diddy moment right there. Tomorrow, I'm going to be talking to Owen Schroyer, I think, for an hour about the Diddy case, and I'll probably break that down a little bit more. But tonight is all about Elon versus Donald, Musk versus Trump. You all know about Trump's multiple WWE appearances. Yes, we all know about that. Holy hell. Jim tells you. Oh, my God. I would have thought / hoped you would have given a shout out to your favorite producer. Dang. Hitting me with 100. Jim wants his name thrown out there. Jim wants his name thrown out there. So that's a pretty serious investment he's throwing out there. Wow. God bless you. And yeah, I'd love to throw you out. I'd love to throw your name out there. I'd love to throw your name out there. I may not be the biggest, but I am the best. It's not about size. It's about what you do with your $2 super chat. It's true. This is true. This is definitely true. All right. Let's get into how this thing happened. Let's focus on that. We're going to start with a clip here of Donald talking to the media tonight. Talking to the media. I should check over I haven't checked before I do this really quick. Let me check. Oh my God. Jay at Schwalbach. Tim Pool was talking about IDF and babies. I don't understand. Why can't the Israel Defense Force make babies? I would make a baby with Gal Gadot right now and every day for a month. Take that, Jim. So he came in with 150, J.H. Schwalbach did. He did. He did come in with 100. Wow. God bless him. God bless you. Holy moly. Holy moly. All right. So, yeah. Yeah. He did come in with 150. Where was I? All right, let's get into this. Let's get into this thing here. Make sure that I'm sharing it everywhere. That's the Diggers chat. This is the other one. Let's do this. Put me up here on this one so I can distinguish between the Diggers chat and the other one. And let's check out this video here. This is Donald Trump meeting with German Chancellor Merz. Fred and Ethel. All right.
Big, beautiful bill. What's your reaction to that? Do you think it in any way hurts passage in the Senate, which, of course, what is you're seeking?
Well, look, I've always liked Elon, and that's why I was very surprised. You saw the words he had for me, and he hasn't said anything about me that's bad. I'd rather have him criticize me than the bill, because the bill is incredible. It's the biggest cut in the history of our country. We've never cut. It's about 1.6 trillion in cuts. It's the biggest tax cut. You would say people's taxes will go way down, but it's the biggest tax cut in history. It's we are doing things in that bill that are unbelievable, and When you look at what we're doing for small businesses, for people, for middle-income people, all of the things that we're doing, nobody's ever seen anything like it.
No one's ever seen
And,
it.
Elon's upset because we took the EV mandate and, which was a lot of money for electric vehicles. And, they're having a hard time, the electric vehicles. And they want us to pay billions of dollars in subsidy. And, Elon knew this from the beginning. He knew it for a long time ago. That's been in there. That's been, I would say, JD, that hasn't changed. That's been right from the beginning, Mr. Secretary. That hasn't changed at all, right from the beginning. But I know that disturbed him. He wanted, and rightfully, he recommended somebody from that he, I guess, knew very well. I'm sure he respected him, but to run NASA. And I didn't think it was appropriate. And he happened to be a Democrat, like totally Democrat. And I say, look, we won. We get certain privileges. And one of the privileges, we don't have to appoint a Democrat. NASA is very important. We have great people. General Kane is going to be.
So, so I'll tell you this. I was taking a shot at Elon, saying that part of the reasons against the bill is because of the impact it will have on Tesla. That was taking a shot, which was unnecessary. It was unnecessary. And I think he feels defensive about this bill. He's concerned about its passage. And he felt a little defensive about it, which is why he took that shot. And this is a good time for me to share with you all, the analogy that I made on Spaces today about what this feud reminds me of. If you're old enough to, if you're my age or even a little bit younger, you're old enough and you follow the NFL, you're old enough to remember the Cowboy team of the early 90s. They were amazing. They were great. In large part, they were built off the trade of Herschel Walker, where they got 8 draft picks, which was a ridiculous heist. It was a crazy heist. And they took a team that in 1989 had the worst record in the NFL, got Troy Aikman, and that was under Troy Aikman. That was his first year. They got his feet wet. And then the next year they went 8-8 in 1990. And then they were off to the races, winning Super Bowls under Jimmy Johnson. And the owner of the team was Jerry Jones. The reason it reminds me that a few years later, after they had won multiple Super Bowls, Jimmy Johnson, owner of the Cowboys, and Jerry Jones, owner of the Cowboys, and Jimmy Johnson, who had been coaching the Miami Hurricanes before he came over to the NFL, got into a massive feud. And it was all about who was most deserving of the credit for the success of the Cowboys. Was it Jimmy Johnson? Was it Jerry Jones? And frankly, they just happened to do really well together. I personally thought it was Jimmy Johnson. I thought Jerry Jones. No. Because even in the 90s, we were starting to see the inflated egos and the prima donna attitude of athletes that had never been seen in sport before. And Jimmy Johnson was an old school type of coach who basically could keep massive egos in check. And he had brass cojones with some of his play calling. He was great. I was a Cowboy fan, and I loved Jimmy Johnson, and I never will forgive Jerry Jones for what he did, for his part in that fight. I'll never. I've been waiting for him to die for decades. Not wishing death, but he's older. He's had his time. He's had his run. Yeah. That's 30 years. Good golly. Anyhow, I digress. The point is that when you have two people who have massive egos and are used to having the world revolve around them, like a Jerry Jones, like a Jimmy Johnson, and you put them in the same room together and you say, here, you guys keep playing together, eventually egos will get bruised and fights will ensue. And what we saw in that particular scenario is that when the fight ensued, the blood was being drawn, and the lovey-dovey friendship turned to hatred. And I would not be remotely surprised if we see something similar here. Because this is the most powerful human on earth, having the military might and the political power, riding high on viewed as a messianic figure by many, too many, because he's not a messianic figure. But Donald Trump is viewed, by too many people as being a messianic type figure who can do no wrong, and certainly earning the love of millions of his supporters and the admiration of millions more, myself included, because I do think that he's a phenomenal president, an exceptional president, and the policies he implements and what he's fought through. I think that he's a remarkable human being in tailor-made to be exceptional as president of the United States, against fighting with the richest person arguably in human history, who, in addition to being the richest person in human history, became not just the biggest supporter of Trump and the most influential in helping him return to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, but he was, and he invested a great deal of his own money and time, both pre-election and then after election, with everything he did with Doge, and all the while helping protect basic constitutional values like freedom of speech by investing $54 billion in purchasing X. So that's going to earn you a lot of love from people who have American values. Well, sort of don't care whether he's born in South America, he's an American in South Africa, he's an American now, and the guy has been awesome and has earned a great deal of love. So now you got Elon, who's not too happy with the fact that I'm sitting here. I took time off from everything I'm doing, and the whole world knows what he's doing between SpaceX, Tesla. He basically and X, between SpaceX, Tesla, and X. Is there anyone who seems like they have less time to fritter away than Elon Musk? Maybe Donald Trump. The two busiest people on the planet, and arguably the two most powerful people on the planet. Because when you have that much money, you're able to. He has more money than many governments, Elon, across the globe. I mean, the guy's, it's just ridiculous the amount of wealth he has. How many dozens of billions of dollars does that individual have? Crazy. So, and I'm not begrudging a penny of it. I'm simply saying, is it hundreds of billions? So it's not surprising that it was relatively predictable that at some point there was going to be friction. Either when there was too much success or too much struggle. That there's going to be finger pointing if there's struggle, and that there's going to be carping over who's responsible for saving America with success. So this feud was certainly in the works to come at some point. We should not be remotely surprised by the feud. If you thought that this was going to be a lifelong love fest between Trump and Elon, it's very wishful thinking. Does this mean they're never going to reconcile? No. But I don't think that the reconciliation is coming soon. Maybe. And if it's staged, which is possible, and we'll talk about that possibility. If it's staged, well, then maybe it'll come sooner. But even if it's staged, it's a dangerous dance. A lot of times a stage fight becomes a real fight. So Donald here is unhappy with Elon. Elon's taking shots. And then the question always becomes, you raise taxes, you raise the debt ceiling. Which one do you want to raise? You either got to make cuts, or you got to raise taxes, or you got to raise the debt ceiling. Because the budget we have set up doesn't work. It doesn't work. And Donald can be very optimistic that his tariffs are going to help balance the budget. And maybe they will. I think anyone who says that they won't is kind of being short-sighted and disregarding the fact that economists never seem to know what's going to happen next week, much less know what's going to happen 6 months from now, a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. No one seems to know. If they did, they'd be richer than Elon. But they'll say with such hubris of like, oh, this is never going to work. How do you know that? Do I know it's going to? I have enough common sense to recognize I don't know. I can see an argument for why it could be great. I can see an argument for why it could be terrible. But most fixes to the economy or to anything start with terrible before they become any better. And in order for a plan to actually come to fruition, you need to be willing to stick through the terrible times before and start seeing the growth. You should be looking for different indicators that even though there's a struggle happening, indicators that there's light at the end of the tunnel and not that you're just digging down into the earth with no hope of coming. You're just digging a hole worse. And that's what you're doing when you're trying to restructure. Anyhow. So that's a little bit of background here. I haven't gotten into the big, beautiful bill, but it's got a lot of investment into the military, into ICE and DHS and border control and removal of agents, things that we who are conservatives tend to support. But it's still got its fair share of pork. And some people are saying like what Dave V1 is saying. It's all show. As we heard in Joe Rogan when he interviewed Trump. Trump never shows his hand in public, so let's just wait and see what happens. And it could be. Could be. Who the heck knows? I thought we were promised no more omnibus bills. Yeah. I agree with you on that, Nana Knows. It's a fake fight. Elon just wanted his life back. Maybe. Narcissist bromance. Yes, that's a good way of terming it. The narcissist bromance. Oh my God. Jim tells you, coming with another 150 to say, I can't let Mr. J.H. Schwalbach outdo me. Oh my God. God bless you, brother. That was not necessary. That was really not necessary. Thank you. Wow. All right, let's go forward with this because I got a lot more to cover on this story.
Picking somebody with our, we'll be checking them out, seeing, but he wanted that person, a certain person, and we said no. And, I can understand why he's upset. Remember, he was here for a long time. You saw a man who was very happy when he stood behind the Oval Desk. And even with the black eye, I said, do you want a little makeup? We'll get you a little makeup. But he said, no, I don't think so, which is...
See, you didn't have to do that. Yeah, what do you have to do that? Why you got to do that? This is petty. Why?
Interesting and very nice. He wants to be who he is, so you could make that statement too, I guess. Look, Elon and I had a great relationship.
Past tense.
I don't know if we're well anymore. I was surprised because you were here. Everybody in this room practically was here as we had a wonderful send-off. He said wonderful things about me. You couldn't have nicer. Said the best things. He's worn the hat. Trump was right about everything. And I am right about the great, big, beautiful bill. We call it a great, big, beautiful bill because that's what it is. And again, biggest tax cuts in history, biggest economic development moves anywhere. We've never done anything like it. Business is spurred. And I don't know if you've seen the numbers, but the numbers came out. Even the CBO, which is run by Democrats, said that we're going to be doing, I'd like you to discuss it, the 2.8 trillion that CBO. This is a group of people that are Democrats. They're very hostile to us.
And he's right about that. I was covering this last night in one of the side pieces that I covered last night. CBO, in the last 25 years, no person in the CBO has ever. CBO is supposed to be, in case you're wondering what it is, they are a think tank for Congress, and they're supposed to basically do projections to try and figure out the potential impact of bill proposals. And in the last 25 years, not one person from the CBO has donated to Republican candidates. Not one. And it's not surprising because they're probably all Ivy League. They're probably all a bunch of Ivy Leaguers who have had their minds affected by going to Stanford or NYU or whatever. So he's correct here in what he's saying, that they're not going to be fans of Trump, that's for sure. So now that Trump is mad with Putin and Elon, is he a good guy now? This is interesting. The left doesn't know what to do with this. Well, all they know what to do with this, what they're going to basically do with this, is try and use it to poke and to troll. Don't feel trolled. I'm urging you. I need to say this out loud, okay? I'm going to go full screen here, okay? Don't ever let your emotions get the best of you when you're debating with someone from the left. This is a perfect opportunity. Just think to yourself. KJP leaves the Democratic Party. It feels like a great opportunity to troll, because here you have a White House press secretary who's in the middle of writing a tell-all book about how broken the Biden administration is. You can troll on her, you can troll on Biden, you can troll on anyone you want. That's what you would do, right? And as you get closer to the book being released, there's far more trolling to do, if that's your nature, to troll. If that's your nature, to engage with the left. Well, by comparison, KJP leaving that is a joke compared to Elon and the bromance he's had with Trump, coming out and attacking and throwing out Epstein and all this other stuff. So don't let yourself, just understand, it's just people looking to agitate you. Don't play into it. You can laugh it off. Just laugh it off. That's what you got to do. That's what you got to do. Let me do this over here. Yeah, we'll do it like that. We'll do it like that. Okay.
Just came out with phenomenal numbers, what it does. You want to mention that, Scott?
Yes, sir. So what we've seen is we keep hearing from the CBO that there's going to be a large deficit from the bill, which we disagree with, but using the CBO scoring, they came out and scored the tariff revenue. We think it'll be the minimum of $2.8 trillion over the 10-year window, which actually puts the bill in surplus if you include the tariff revenue, which they won't do.
It gives you a tremendous surplus, but we're not allowed to use that.
That's if they stick with it for 10 years. That's if they stick with it for 10 years. Which, if it's struggling early on, they may not. So it's got, if it's not overturned the day that Trump leaves office, God forbid. God forbid it's not J.D. Vance who replaces him.
For some reason, they say scoring. Nobody knows what scoring means. Maybe a couple of people, but nobody. Somebody sits in the background. They say, well, we're not going to allow that. They're not allowing other things that we have that are tremendously profitable for our country. But if you saw the other day, CNBC, they came out with numbers, and the people on the show, very good people, I've watched them for a long time, they couldn't believe the numbers, how good they are. The numbers were incredible, and that was personal income and also very low inflation. We have very low inflation. We're down to 2% now, and maybe even lower than that. And when I took it over, it was a mess. Remember, we had the worst inflation probably in the history of our country. They say 48 years, but let's say I think it's worse than that. So we had the worst inflation in the history of our country under the Biden administration. Now we're down to a beautiful number, 2%. You'd actually like to keep it there. Better than zero is 2%. It's going down maybe to 1, and 1% is like perfect. That's perfect. You don't want to have zero for certain reasons that nobody is very interested to listen to. But we have almost perfect inflation. Grocery prices are down. Everything. Remember eggs? We weren't going to buy another egg for the next 20 years. They were so expensive, right? Remember? You guys all hit me about eggs. Eggs have come down 400%. Everybody has eggs now. They're having eggs for breakfast again. But if you look at gasoline, very important. I think always the most important because it's the energy is the biggest factor. That's what happened. He screwed up our energy policy.
And what he means by that, why would energy be so critical towards the health of an economy? Because everything ultimately ends up reliant on energy. The more energy prices go up, the more it costs for your air conditioning and your heating, the more it costs to transport goods across the country or internationally. Everything just gets driven up because it's baked into everything. I'll never forget that I was once doing a baseball draft in a friend's pizza store. He owned a pizza store. He was one of the owners of the pizza store was in the league, and we were doing a baseball draft. And the pizza store had recently raised their prices. This is like 10, 12, 15 years ago. And they had put up a sign saying, "We apologize for the price for the recent price increase to our pizza, but due to the increased cost of cheese, we have no choice but to raise our prices. You know, feel free to ask us about it." So everyone there was sort of chaperoning him there with we really want to know more about the cheese crisis and the increased price of cheese. But the point that I'm getting at is if it's cheese, that's affecting a certain element to the economy. Just some demographics. It'll affect, you know, your Italian places, you know, your restaurant chains, certain things. If there's a hike in eggs, that's going to be a little bit more global because eggs are used more. So it's going to affect more foods. Energy is used in everything. So that's why if there's a hike in energy prices, it's invariably going to ripple throughout everything in the economy. You need energy to do anything, to make anything, to produce anything. So obviously, costs are going to go up. It's going to get passed on to the consumer.
And everything went up because energy went up. But now energy is way down, and they have states where you're at $1.98 a gallon for gasoline. So the costs have come way down. And one of the things I ran on was that. I ran on the border. We have the best border in the history of our country, 99.99%. It was last week, 3 people came in, 2 of them for medical reasons. We let them in because one of them had a heart attack.
3 people came in, 2 of them were giving birth. No, if they were giving birth, we wouldn't be letting them in. Not until the Supreme Court weighs in on that birthright citizenship thing. 2 for medical reasons. Does Joe look like he's losing weight? Joe is losing weight, although I think I put on like 5 pounds over Shavuos. But yeah, Joe is losing. I was down at before Shavuos at 202 from 235. Yeah, the goal is like 180, and God willing, I'll get there. God willing, I get there. It's through just keeping your mouth closed. So, and only opening it for like stuff like grapefruit.
I think it was a nice thing to do, and one of them had something else. So we've never had. I had very good numbers for 4 years, but we really topped it. And I want to thank Christie and Tom Homan. They've done a fantastic job. But nobody mentions that anymore. Remember, a few months ago, the border was a total disaster. People were coming in by the hundreds of thousands of people a day, a week, a month. I mean, we had a month, 2 million people came in 1 month. The border was being overrun, and a lot of bad people.
I have a hard time believing that. Really? 2 million people in 1 month? I don't know. That I struggle to digest. I don't even know that that's possible. That's 70,000 people a day on average. I struggle with that.
People, criminals, murderers, drug dealers. We had some of the worst people in the world coming in from all over the world. It's totally closed. And you know what? People are coming into.
Remember when they couldn't shut it down? They tried really hard and got the number down to like, I don't know, 80,000, 100,000 a month. And they're like, well, we can't shut it down because Trump killed the bill. He killed the border bill. He killed the border bill. Thank God he killed that bill. Oh, my God. Thank God. How can we possibly shut it down? Trump killed the border bill so he could create a crisis. No, utter lie. Lie. Lie, lie, lie. Karine Jean-Pierre, the queen of lies.
Country, but they're coming in legally. So we've done a great job. Elon knew that. Elon endorsed me very strongly. He actually went up in campaign for me. I think I would have won. Susie would say I would have won Pennsylvania easily anyway, even if the governor ran, the real governor, not the governor from Minnesota, he's a sick puppy, that guy. That poor guy, I feel sorry for him. But they made a bad choice with him. But
I love him. Oh, my God, that sick puppy. Oh, that sick puppy, Tim Walz. I feel bad for him. It's like I'm in the middle of attacking Elon. Let me just do a little Kaya over to Tim Walz. Oh my God, how can anyone not love him? I'm in the middle of dissing Elon here, saying I didn't really need him so much. I would have won Pennsylvania without him. Even if they ran Shapiro, I still would have taken Pennsylvania. I don't know about that. And instead, they made a worse mistake picking that sick puppy from Minnesota. I feel bad for that guy. Oh gosh. How do you not love him? How can anyone not love him? Even Elon. Come on, Elon. If
you pick Shapiro or anybody else, I spoke to him recently about his house being set on fire, which was terrible. But if they picked him, I would have won Pennsylvania. I won it by a lot. But I'm very disappointed because Elon knew the inner workings of this bill better than almost anybody sitting here, better than you people. He knew everything about it. He had no problem with it. All of a sudden, he had a problem. And he only developed the problem when he found out that we're going to have to cut the EV mandate because that's billions and billions of dollars. And it really is unfair. We want to have cars of all types. Electric, we want to have electric, but we want to have a gasoline, combustion. We want to have different. We want to have hybrids. We want to have we want to be able to sell everything. And when that was cut, and Congress wanted to cut it, he became a little bit different. And I can understand that. But he knew every aspect of this bill. He knew it better than almost anybody. And he never had a problem until right after he left. And if you saw the statements he made about me, which I'm sure you can get very easily, it's very fresh on tape. He said the most beautiful things about me. And he hasn't said bad about me personally, but I'm sure that'll be next. But
a prescient comment. I'm sure that will be next because it did come next.
I'm very disappointed in Elon. I've helped Elon a lot.
It did come next. We're going to look at that in just a moment. It did come next. And it came in spades. Elon was dishing all day today. Dishing in some aggressive ways. And like I said, I kind of get it. He's like, I bent over backwards, dropped everything, did Doge, and now you have this big bill, which is potentially going to be throwing out all the hard work that I was doing here. Barrett Boy says, instead of asking the teens in Congress to control spending, control it for them. They can only spend 12% of the last official GDP, never more unless constitutional declaration of war. Well, I like your thinking. I like your thinking. And I agree with you. Jim tells you that gas should be $1.95 nationwide. All right. And Beautiful Messy Ball says, typically the bigger the bill, the more pork, which is why R's are usually for smaller government and more individualized bills. That's traditional R's, traditional Republicans, not the neocons we got in there now. And that's part of my speculation here as to what's happening, why it is that Trump may have as much pork in there as he has. Because ultimately, you know, it's very nice to be principled, but if you can't get a bill passed because you can't get it past the Democrats are voting against it. You know that's happening. So you need to have near unanimous consent from the Republicans. So if you want to give Trump the benefit of the doubt as to why there still is such fat increases on military, which you could be saying we should be dialing back our military. Why we need to have more and more and more increased spending there? You want to tell me you need more money to remove the illegal aliens? I think all of us would sign up for that. I think everyone who's supported Trump in his election run, everyone would support that. But there's still so much pork in there. There is. So, yeah, you sort of, and maybe that's the pet projects for the different senators and congressmen who you need them to vote for it. It's like they're like, I'm not voting for it unless I have this stupid $300 million project thrown in there that my constituents, that my donors want. So what are you going to do if you come up 20 people short on the bill? No, nothing. So I can see why it is that Trump is trying to be pragmatic and say this is how we have to operate for now. You don't want this? Well, vote these people out. Primary them. But we're not going to be getting the primarying of them if Elon isn't primarying them. And I don't know that he's coming back. So that don't think it's not a loss if this fracture becomes a permanent state. Do not think that this is not going to hurt Trump's agenda. It will. But we'll talk about, I have a lot more thoughts on that. Allegan's saying, I haven't followed, joining late. What did I miss? Elon's still doing good work at Doge. I've followed all day. When you make up a fake fight, make sure everyone can believe it. Otherwise, it will not work. So you think it's all hot air. You think it's not real. Maybe. You think that Elon would have gone to Epstein? You think he would have gone there? Because he went there. People need to understand the difference between reconciliation and rescission. Stephen Miller did excellent explanation today on Charlie Kirk, sent link in Locals. I saw that link you sent in Locals. I'm going to pull that up. I am going to pull that up because if you're in Locals, which is where all the cool kids hang out, if you're in Locals, then you deserve the reason they're putting together the show for us today. So you said to start at the 31-minute mark.
I intend to deliver.
I don't know how much time I can give to this. It's an hour and a half. This is an hour and 52 minutes. You say to start at the 31-minute mark. So I'll start there. And we'll give it like a minute. I'll do that next. Okay, let me just get to the rest of these chats here. I never trusted Elon, but what he has done is good. Do you think he has enough knowledge behind the curtain to take down Trump? Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here in this super chat. So let me do that. Let me do that quickly. I don't trust anyone. Okay, we should never trust that anyone cannot be turned. I don't care how much money, how much power they have. Sometimes you sort of have to trust God first, family second. Trust God first, family second. And after that, anyone else you can rely on. And you know which members in your family you can trust more than others. Maybe friends, certain friends who have proven. Okay. But never think that a person's mind cannot be poisoned. No matter how great that person could be, has been, displayed, whatever. Never put it beyond human ability to be poisoned. And I'll prove it to you. And this is, from legends of old. Okay? If you follow any of the Abrahamic faiths, the patriarchs themselves, while they were alive, they didn't, the Torah, and I assume it's like this in the Christian Bible as well. The reference to them when they talk about their God They never talk about a living person being a servant like that, that God is their God. And the lesson we're supposed to take from that is even the patriarchs at some point in their lives could have chosen to stray away from God. So only once they're dead and no longer have a chance to stray is Abraham referred to as, like, is God referred to as the God of Abraham. Jacob refers to his, so you have the oldest of the patriarchs is Abraham, then Isaac, then Jacob. Jacob, he refers to God as being the fear of Isaac. Isaac was his father. He says the God of Abraham, the fear of Isaac. Why? Because at that point in time, Isaac was still alive. And it's improper to make assumptions about what someone is going to be tomorrow. There's no way to know. So what you want to do is trust your God and your principles. Trust your family, your closest friends who have displayed that they're trustworthy. And this is in decreasing levels of trust each step along the way. And the principles that you've established. And then you need to constantly judge people against those principles. So I'm going to tell you right now, there are certain principles that Donald Trump has espoused that I disagree with, and I do not think that they're particularly American values. He's been a great president, but I would never say that whatever he's saying is wholly American. And so, in fact, sometimes I can point some things he said that I'd be like, that doesn't sound very American to me. That doesn't mean I don't think he's been a great president. Obviously, I extol his virtues as a president over and over again. But sometimes he says things that I'm like, no. And I'm sure that if I look through Elon's comments on social media, I can probably find a dozen things that he'd say that I'd be like, that doesn't sound very American. In certain facets, at certain times, people are great. But you can't. But, so as far as who you can trust, you trust them in the moment, and you pray that they continue to do good works. But I'm not one of these people who says because Trump passed this bill or is trying to push forward this bill, that means it's good for the economy. I think he's trying. I think he's trying, and I believe that he believes it's good for the economy. I trust him in that. I think his instincts are in the right place to better America. His instincts about the economy seem to be more often than not correct, so that we should err towards leaning and giving him the benefit of the doubt. When in doubt, I'd be like, I'm going to lean towards trusting him just based on history. The past performance is not indicative of the future, ever. Now, do I think he has enough knowledge behind the curtain to take down Trump? I'll say to you on that, I don't know. How would he be taken down? The only way he'd be taken down is if he's not going to get him impeached. I don't see that happening. So you think he knows about his skeletons? I wouldn't be worrying about that. I wouldn't be worrying about that. And if you think that Elon's a good person, so he wouldn't want to destroy Trump and unless he's serious about getting JD Vance in his place, but I don't know. I wouldn't be that. I would not be worried. I don't think it's something we should be worrying about today at this point. When Elon announced his departure, not everyone believed that this incident helps Elon Musk and SpaceX regain the favor of the left. The right will not continue to fight with Elon. This was all a ploy. In 2 weeks, no one will care. That's possible. It's possible that that this is a favor that Donald Trump is doing for him. It's very possible. It's an insightful perspective, I think, that it's like, okay, how do we stop them hating Elon? Well, if Trump goes to war with Elon, they go to war with each other. In that case, all of a sudden, the left will start buying their EVs all over again. It's possible. And it's very possible. There's good logic there. This is just two trolls fighting to make it believable. It has to go all the way. Maybe that's why they bring up Epstein. Could be. The bill left in billions of support for oil companies, but cut out the EV support. Congress should cut all of it. Yeah, I agree. I would trim. I've been asking what pork is in the bill and still have not found an answer. Can you explain what pork is in the bill? So I think the increases to the military, I think, can be labeled as pork. I think that can be labeled as pork. I'll ask Grok. Let's ask Grok. That's a good question for Grok. What pork is in the big, beautiful bill? There's a lot here going on. So we're going to go through this quickly because I don't want to spend like an hour on this. So we'll go through this pretty quick. Okay. The term pork in the context of one big, beautiful bill refers to provisions critics argue prioritize specific interests, constituencies, or industries over broader public benefit, often inflating costs, etc. So we got agricultural subsidies. The bill includes raised commodity reference prices, which some critics argue disproportionately benefit specific farm sectors. Military construction projects, certain military infrastructure projects are cited as potentially benefiting specific congressional districts, raising concerns about localized political favoritism. Green and Resilient Retrofit Program. This program aimed at retrofitting bills for energy efficiency has been criticized as a targeted allocation that may benefit specific contractors or regions. Land sales in Nevada and Utah, provisions along the federal land sales in those states to reduce housing prices are seen as directly benefiting those. I wouldn't call that pork. SALT cap deduction. The bill raises the state and local tax deduction cap to $40,000, which critics argue disproportionately benefits high tax states like California and New York. I don't call that pork either. I look at pork as being improper spending. Critics who must have broadly labeled the bill as pork bill, suggesting additional provisions like funding for local infrastructure industry-specific tax breaks may serve narrow interests. You're making a fair point here, Allegan. There's not much here. One ex post estimates approximately 0.64% of the bill's 2.7 trillion fiscal impact, which is around 17 billion, is tied to pork-related provisions. So this figure is based on limited identified terms. That's pretty trimmed down. But then when you have last-minute changes, that's kind of scary. No independent comprehensive watchdog analysis. So there's a concern of pork without there being able to be identified pork. But you're making a good point here, Allegan. Fair enough. Fair enough. Elon went dark money, so you cannot be seen in politics and maintain company with left who cancels. Ask Grok how much pork is in the bill in money. So they said 17 billion, which is obviously a very small amount. Come on, guys. The brink of World War III. We don't need this now. For the sake of America, you both love. Kiss and make up. Thank you so much. G-Gum. I think I'm saying it right. G-Gum. If, in fact, this is designed to help Elon recoup the damage, the PR hit that Tesla has taken, they're not going to be making up. It won't be. So that's just not going to happen. Let's get to the Stephen Miller thing. I'll give this a couple of minutes here so we can get a flavor for what he was saying that Kat shared with me over in Locals.
Step and turn.
Let's go.
We experienced the most amazing journey over 13 years where I have been able to not just make an impact in the culture and politics.
You've been such a critical element.
And have Stephen Miller with us. This is going to be great. We're here at the Bitcoin.com studio. That's the Bitcoin.com studio. I have lots of partners I'm supposed to mention. I will put all of that into suspense because we're just going to get right to Stephen Miller. Stephen, my friend, thank you for joining. How are you doing today?
Congratulate you, Charlie, on your extraordinary success. You've been such a critical element of the success of the MAGA movement, building this durable framework for populist governance. And so I hope your audience appreciates how much we appreciate you.
Well, thank you, Stephen. And we have reciprocal respect here. And I hope everyone in the audience understands that Stephen in the White House
I want to
every
start
single
by
day
addressing the horrific
is
act of
holding down
violence
the
that took place on Sunday. in
Ah!
Colorado. President Trump and the entire administration's hearts go out to the victims, and they are in our prayers during this unimaginable time. According to reporting from Fox News, the alleged attacker admitted in an interview that he wanted to kill all Zionist people and had been planning the attack for over a year and would do it again if he could. This monster used a makeshift flamethrower and Molotov cocktails to light Jewish Americans on fire in an attempt to burn them alive. The victims at the incident location in Boulder were there to rally in support of Israeli hostages.
All right, we nailed it. I nailed it. Not that fast than I expected.
Of the populist nationalist MAGA movement. Every single day, Stephen Miller is in the meetings. He is talking about more deportations. He is going through the entire list of what did we campaign on, what did we promise, and are we delivering it? And you deserve a ton of credit there. Stephen, we have some time, and I want to build momentum behind this big, beautiful bill, because I think some people are losing the profundity and the significance of what this bill will actually accomplish. What is, in your opinion, the legislative history, the historical significance behind this bill, and what does it mean for the conservative project more broadly?
Yes, it's such an excellent question. And let me start, for your audience that doesn't know me as well, just a little bit, and I normally wouldn't do this, but a little bit of extra context on myself. I started working in the conservative movement, like you, Charlie, when I was still a kid. I was in high school.
Thank you, Gene. I hope you felt the love back, brother.
School. Went to war with my administration and teachers at Santa Monica Public High School over radical left-wing indoctrination. Carried on the fight at Duke University. Fought relentlessly to defend the innocence of the Duke lacrosse players. My first boss on Capitol Hill.
I need to pause just for a second here. Kimmy Hunt, who's been a fan of the show here since I was in short pants. I want to wish you a speedy and full, complete recovery. Prayers for you, and if you can send up a prayer for Kimmy Hunt, that'd be mighty wetty. So, yeah, that's not a racist praise, right? Well, anyway, prayers for you. All jokes aside, and we're gonna miss you. Look forward to seeing your healthy return soon.
Hill with Michelle Bachmann, Minnesota. We were Tea Party before there was a Tea Party.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm sorry. J.Ed Schwalbach hit me with another 175 here. Oh, when you're down in the dust and the fight for good and evil, bet on both sides. Do what you must. This love is not meant for us. We're not like other people. You've got my number, but who else can use? I think this is a song that I'm unfamiliar with. Sorry about that. But wow, that was harsh. That was harsh. Oh my God. Oh my God.
I spent my entire adult life in this movement. In the summer of 2015, I started working for President Trump, recognizing instantly that this was the man who was going to finally be able to create.
The heart is 100.
God bless you so much for giving. I suck. I was like, oh, he gave me a link. He says trust, and J.H. Schwalbach just gave me a link. That was pretty funny. So I click it and just, blew up the stream. I am sorry about that. I am sorry, each and every one of you. I'm such a boomer. Let's go back 10 seconds.
Nationalist conservative governance that he was going to be our antidote to the corruption, to the failures, to the sinister machinations of our failed elites and the ruling class, which is why they spent 10 years trying to destroy him. That's what brings us to this moment. I have waited my entire life, and if I was older, I would say I've been waiting for 100 years, because there's never been a bill like this bill since there has been a conservative movement. This represents the culmination, in the case of the MAGA movement, of 10 years of hard work. This bill would have been unthinkable in 2017, in the Paul Ryan era. In this bill is the codification of President Trump's most important campaign promises. It is done through a process known as reconciliation, which allows us to enact them into law with 50 votes, not 60. No Democrats are involved. There's no trading with Democrats. No Democrats are involved in the writing or crafting of this bill, nor is it written by the Appropriations Committee. This bill is written by the most conservative lawmakers in Congress, people like Jim Jordan. It is written out of the policy-making committees by the Republican members there. So, for example, as has been much discussed, it fully funds the deportation agenda. It fully funds massive expansions in the number of ICE deportation officers, ICE beds, ICE deportation flights, and the complete permanent physical sealing of the entire southwest border. All of that money, all of that funding is provided up front. This was a 10-year plan. In other words, going back to 2017, when Paul Ryan didn't give us the money for the immigration project, for 10 years, we thought, given the chance to do it again, we would put all of the immigration money in the first bill out of the chute up front. That's what this bill does. And also significant additional changes to the administration of our immigration system. For example, there's language in here cracking down on nationwide injunctions. There's language in here raising the fees on foreigners coming to our country so that we can protect the American taxpayer. There's language in here expanding the mission of the Defense Department to seal and protect the U.S. border. And I could go on. Of course, the bill also includes in it every single tax promise that President Trump made on the campaign trail, but in particular, the part of this tax promise is to forge that deep alliance with the working class of this country. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. Look, if Ronald Reagan had just done no tax on tips, they'd still be giving speeches about it today at the Reagan Library.
That's true.
They'd have a whole week at the Reagan Library just devoted to that time that Ronald Reagan did no tax on tips. There'd be whole statues. There'd be museum displays.
It's not that. This is a great point he's making. And what he's getting at is when you do too many great things in one bill, people will tend to just minimize just how significant some of the things incorporated in that bill are. The no tax on tips, getting rid of immigrants, yeah, he's doing a really good job, Mark, selling this bill to me.
They'd have entire industries built off of just telling the story of the time Reagan did no tax on tips. Isn't that right, Charlie?
No, without a doubt. I mean, that alone is it's such a major political accomplishment. The Senate passes a ceremonial 100-0. Everyone agrees on no tax on tips, and no one has delivered it. So, Stephen, our audience wants more deportations. Our audience wants to see the campaign promise and campaign mandate fulfilled. How will this bill allow us to have permanent border security, fully finance the wall, and allow us to take our sovereignty and our country back?
Yeah, so in terms of the defense and the saving of Western civilization, this bill is a now or never movement. For those who say, well, split it up into a bunch of different bills, you should understand what that would mean. First, it would immediately change it from a 50-vote threshold to a 60-vote threshold. I'm not here to justify or explain Senate rules. I'm here to tell you reality. And the reality is, under the rules of the Senate, you split it up, each individual provision that is now included in the
I am here to
bill
explain it to you, and
with
I
50
will.
votes would require a 60-vote threshold, which would mean none of them would be enacted into law, but particularly the immigration provisions. Furthermore, not all members, and I want to
That's a great point.
here, but not all members of the Republican Party have the same view about all of these issues. By including the immigration,
that's what I speculated. That's exactly what I speculated. He needed to get it passed. He needs to get the votes. You need to get the votes. Okay, I need to spend a minute explaining to you what you're probably not going to hear anywhere else on any other podcast, because because people don't like getting into the nuts and bolts, but the nuts and bolts are important as far as understanding motivations behind this bill and the propriety of this bill, meaning, is this a good bill? Is this good legislative work by Trump, or is it bad legislative work by Trump? So let me just take a moment to explain this to you. There are two types of filibuster. One type of filibuster that most people are familiar with the use of the term filibuster is when you talk about the ability of the Senate to stand up there and talk for hours on end, which we've seen the Democrats do of late a lot. And the more significant filibuster that he's referring to here is that in order to slow things down from bills from passing in the Senate, because the Senate is supposed to be where bills bake. The thought process in our Constitution is, while the Senate has the right to bring up and start bills, that most bills would likely start in the House where you need a simple majority. And then in order to ensure that bills are actually something that is good for the long term, not just a short-term quick fix for legislators who are only there for 2 years, in theory, but for folks who are there for 6 years, enough time to hopefully manifest genuine change. And that's what senators are supposed to be there. You want people to have a longer term vision like a senator. So in order to ensure that it's really popular with the majority of the states, and that you're not taking advantage of certain states, certain segments of states, they said you need to have a larger than a regular majority. At one point, it was 2/3. They trimmed that down to 60 and said you have to have 60 out of 100. So in order to pass a bill, this way we can feel confident that the bills that are coming through Congress actually have, the benefits of the majority of states. Ideally, that's the plan. That's the thought process. But they were struggling to get appropriation bills passed roughly, I think, around 20 years ago or so. So they modified the 60 number and they said, if it's an appropriations bill means a bill around the budget and money and spending. You don't need to have 60 senators to pass. You only need to have a simple majority, which can be 50 plus the vice president as the president of the Senate if you need to break a tie. So you really only need to have 50 senators. So what he's getting at is this. If we were to parse out this bill into different parts, there are certain parts which would still be just purely about money, and those parts would be something that you have you would need a simple majority. But the parts about immigration, all that other stuff, you would need 60 votes, and that will never pass. That will never go anywhere because you're never going to get 7 Democrats, much less you're probably not going to get all the Republicans because you got losers in there. Like Murkowski and Collins and Ron, you got but you got all these losers there. So what are we going to do? It's never going to get through. How do we get it through? Well, if we take those immigration packages, roll them into a big ball, and throw them into the appropriations bill, now we can still work with getting a simple majority, even though it's got some parts to this bill that are not about finances. But if we throw it into this finance bill, in that case, now we only need a simple majority that we can get to pass. But in order to get it to pass, you're still going to need a majority. You're still going to need almost every Republican to sign off on it because it got such a razor thin majority in both the House and the Senate. You're going to need them all to sign off on it, which means it's going to have to be a couple of pet projects. But fortunately, it's not a significant percentage of what's going on here. So what he's saying makes a lot of sense. It's pragmatic. It's how you get things done in Washington. It makes a lot of sense.
Language with the tax cuts, with the welfare reform, it creates a coalition. Politics is all about coalitions. It creates a coalition across the Republican Party to enact this legislation into law, again, which is 50 votes. The 3 major constraints on deportations are personnel, prisons, and planes. Personnel, prisons, and planes. ICE prisons, also known as ICE beds, ICE detention centers, ICE officers, personnel, planes, deportation planes. So, like the most fundamental level, this bill is the largest ever increase in those three categories. Just on the point about ICE officers as an example. So ICE was created after 9/11 to secure immigration system. This, at least for a very brief and fleeting period of time, that was never acted upon. There was an understanding that foreign migration was the principal national security threat. Uncontrolled, unvetted, unchecked foreign migration created the conditions for terrorism. So we created ICE. ICE has received no increase in personnel since its creation.
That's a remarkable.
Even as the number of illegal aliens has exploded exponentially.
Repeat that. That's
so there are still
just
less
repeat
than
that, Stephen.
6,000.
That's so amazing.
Yes.
So we now have 25 million illegals, and yet ICE is still the same size as it was 20 years ago. That's remarkable.
Yes, more than 20 years ago. There's less than 6,000 full-time ICE deportation
Think about it.
officers.
Every other government agency grows by default. I hope everyone understands this, right? We get more TSA agents, we get more bureaucrats, we get more mid-level managers, we get more Department of Education, we get more DEI officers, we get more diversity czars. But Stephen, you're telling me the one part of government that we can all agree not to grow is the one that we need the most.
Yes, it's been strangled on purpose for 20.
They see saying, Joe, you've been in court, 9.9 billion you missed, not seen by all. Marjorie Taylor Greene, too, against bill over foreign spending. Look, I'm not for foreign spending. I'm simply saying $9.9 billion is $9.9 billion I don't want spent. I don't want foreign spending. But if this is what we need to get this thing through, relative to the size of the bill, 9.9 billion is a very small number. It's a very small number. So we need the votes. What are we going to do? We need the votes. So I agree with you. I wish we would stop all foreign spending. Every country, stop it. I don't care if it's Canada. I don't care if it's Israel. I don't care if it's Ukraine. I don't care if it's Cambodia or Swazi. I want all foreign spending done. Okay? I'm done with foreign spending. I'm done with it. I don't want to be spending money. I want our money here. But this is what we need to get the votes. This is $9.9 billion is a heck of a lot less than we spent during any month under the Biden administration. It's $9.9 billion over what, 10 years? Over like the next year. Let's assume it's the next year. It's much. It's a tiny fraction of what we spent in any given month before Trump. So, yeah, it's not perfect. We got to do what we can to get the votes. We need every Republican on board here.
Plus years. Yes. And so just speaking on a personal level, a big part of my own life's work. And of course, it is President Trump's vision, boldness, leadership, and stewardship of the party that has brought us to the point of this being possible, has been to just increase the number of ICE officers. The appropriators have never agreed to do it in a generation. And this bill is the largest increase of any federal agency in a single bill. But this time, not for the bureaucrats, not for the lefties, but for ICE officers. So we're going to clean double the number of ICE deportation officers, but do many other things to expand deportations, giving a larger role for the military, fully funding 287G so that state and local governments can get involved in deportations, fully funding the National Guard immigration mission, and I could go on and on and on. So that alone would be the biggest conservative policy win in our lifetimes, just that provision. You cannot pass that as a standalone. That is not possible as a standalone. So understand, when you hear certain libertarians campaigning against this bill, they're not stupid. There are certain libertarians in the House and Senate who are trying to take down this bill. They're not stupid. They understand. They just don't care. I want to be very clear with you. They don't care. Immigration has never mattered to them. It will never matter to them. Deportations have never mattered to them. It will never matter to them. You will never live a day in your life where a libertarian cares as much about immigration and sovereignty as they do about the Congressional Budget Office. That day will never come. It will never happen. It's up to you. It is up to you, listening to my voice today, to vindicate President Trump's 10 years of effort and sacrifice to save the sovereignty of this country. And I'll say one other thing. If conservatives want to be able to govern this country, they have to stop being afraid of winning. History is set by winners. President Trump is a winner. President Trump survived 2 assassination attempts. President Trump was shot in the head. President Trump survived an effort in multiple jurisdictions to incarcerate him for life. President Trump is a winner. The conservative movement needs to be able to take yes for an answer, to accept winning. And then you make a huge, historic, successful victory. And then you go on to the next victory and the next victory and the next victory. Deep, deep, deep down inside, somewhere in the traumatized conservative psyche, amongst some, not all, amongst some, but enough, is an allergy to winning, a great fear of winning. There's a desire deep inside that would rather sit on a panel complaining about a bill than celebrating a victory.
I want to get to his Elon Musk part.
Instinct is everything that MAGA is allergic to. The MAGA movement, among many other things, is about understanding that to save this country, you have to be able to govern this country. And all of these procedural hurdles that are being thrown in the way, all of these highly technical bureaucratic complaints, which, by the way, are all fictional, all false, fake scores of tax cuts and everything else, are all born not from policy disagreement, but from a fear of winning. And that is what we must overcome more than anything else, or we will lose the country.
There is so much truth to this. I hope everyone understands. The most important thing that we could do to fulfill the mandate is
Let me just cover a couple of these. No tax on overtime will help people who are trying to start a company. When you start a company, you put in 60 to 80-hour work weeks. Normally, you take salary, but now you'll pay yourself hourly. So the extra time past 40 hours, you do not get taxed on. Ah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's great. Okay, now I think this is a joke. Oh my God, that is so good. Thank you. Oh my God, great job, Wesley. That is awesome. In case you have vision problems, it's a Truth Social post from Donald Trump saying that totally was a Yahtzee salute that Elon did, by the way. You know it, I know it, everyone knows it. Everyone knows it. This tells me it's a fake fight. This feels like a fake fight now to me. Now this feels like a fake. This is practically flirting. This is practically flirting. Oh my God. Is that real? Hey, Matthew, this is really good. Oh my God, that was great. Funding report that Elon has benefited from. There's infrastructure changes that cost taxpayers money that benefits auto driving. Stripe lines and roads cost astronomically more. Cars, so cars can see it. Okay, yeah. Infrastructure to me is never an accomplishment. No tax on overtime means me as a company owner will switch to hourly. As 12-hour days means hard work is not taxed. Why do salary anymore? Gee. That was freaking hilarious. Supposedly he didn't send it. Supposedly it's a fake, by the way, the Trump thing. But that's funny. That's really funny. G-Gum says, come on, guys. The brink of war with we don't need this now. For the sake of America, you both love, kiss, and make up already. I didn't cover this yet. So let me open this up. This is over in where the cool kids are hanging out. No. Oh, God, no. Oh, God, no. 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 Yes, that's where the cool kids are hanging out. That's in locals at goodlogic.locals.com. And the link is in the description. It's pinned in the chat if you want to join over on Locals. They're the ones who have been providing all the stuff I'm doing in this show. And they've been doing a phenomenal job. All right, let's get back into
establish our sovereignty. Tax on remittances, $1,000 upfront fee just to apply for asylum, changing the asylum process, fully funding ICE. Isn't it amazing how DC, they become such fiscal conservatives when it comes to ICE? We're able to grow every other department of the federal government, but ICE has no growth. I wonder why. Because the main core, the life force of the globalist project is open borders. Stephen, stay right there. We're going to go through the borders here. And then we're gonna go through the borders. I'm just reading something. We're gonna go through the breaks. So they kind of like borders. We're gonna go through the breaks here, and then I'm gonna ask you just some of the questions that we're getting on the questions.
I'm gonna get you a little bit of.
We're gonna be seeing a lot of these. It's sad it's come to this, but the truth must be known. I was the one that gave Elon the black eye. He got sassy, and I had to put him in check. Also, I know I told you Teslas are cool, but they're actually quite girly cars. Wouldn't be caught dead in one. Very gay. Oh my God. Oh my God.
The budget process too.
Yeah, I'm gonna just mention just some of Senator Ron Johnson, Senator Rand Paul's contentions, and I want you to respond to them.
Yeah, let's do that.
What do we have, guys? Z Factor. If you guys want to get to sleep, go to relieffactor.com. You've tried counting sleep, warm glasses of milk, even those weird meditation apps. That is 1-800-4-RELIEF, relieffactor.com. Stephen Miller continues in about 10 seconds. Stay right there and say enough spending. Let me play cut 413. This is Senator Ron Johnson, who said this on the show yesterday. Play cut 413.
Well, first of all, I know we're not going to meet the moment with one bill. We won't. You know, the House didn't do it. We won't if we quick rush this thing through. So we've got to split this up, focus on the areas of agreement, border defense, take the spending reductions the House has given us that they've agreed to, extend current tax, take the automatic tax increase off the table. That was a blunder in the Tax Cut and Jobs Act. We should score that in current policy. We weren't smart enough to do that. Increase that ceiling for about a year. Keep the pressure on. I've got to convince President Trump that is to his advantage. He wants to balance the budget. That's what he said. Well, we're not even coming close to putting ourselves on a path to balance the budget. He needs that leverage. Well, we'll never default on the debt, ever. We've got more than enough revenue to service our debt. We will increase the debt ceiling, but we ought to do it in increments.
Okay, Stephen, what is your response here to Senator Ron Johnson?
So, on the debt ceiling, the only way to raise the debt ceiling without Democrat votes is to do it in a reconciliation bill. So, as the first point, if you take the debt ceiling out of this bill, the only way to avoid a catastrophic default, which would cause a surge in interest rates and therefore a surge in deficits and a giant debt explosion, would be to make a deal with Chuck Schumer, and that deal would come with significantly higher taxes, a huge bailout for California, many other terrible policies. So it would be a huge loss for conservatives. Now, the second point that he makes is, well, why don't we just split this up into a lot of different votes and everything else? If you've been watching, so we've been working on this legislation, this is far from being rushed. Since December, we've been working on this legislation. So it'll be almost a year of effort. If you split up the debt ceiling into smaller tranches, it will shut down the entire legislative project. We will just spend every month and every session till the end of time going through these internal procedural issues. We will inevitably come up short more than once and have to go to Chuck Schumer begging and pleading to bail us out on the debt ceiling. We have the chance now as Republicans to raise the debt ceiling together attached to
without
the
simultaneous concessions. So that's the argument. So the argument is that
concessions attached to the strongest set of conservative policy reforms.
Otherwise, Chuck Schumer would hold the debt ceiling hostage, and then we have to do all this other stuff we don't want to do. So the other question I have here, Stephen,
will be every conservative.
I think that's smart.
Nightmare list.
It's very pragmatic. What do you have to say to the contention that this bill does not cut enough spending? that it is not a big enough cut. What is your response to that?
So, a few important points on this. The first is that
Actually, hold on,
very
Stephen.
bad faith.
Just 1 second. I got to welcome back radio. We're going to do this in just a second. 10 seconds. Stay right there. Stephen Miller.
So first, facts just off the top. According even to the
Jay Schwalbach asks, has anyone reported on whether the Colorado fire dude got where he got his money from? I bet he was on cash aid, food stamps, and Section 8 housing. Of course he
the highly flawed Congressional Budget Office.
Of course
score,
he was.
The bill cuts $1.6+ trillion in federal spending, including the largest welfare reform in history, far larger, by the way, than the much vaunted welfare reform from the Gingrich era in the 90s. So a full welfare reform attached to Medicaid and food stamps, the biggest welfare reform in history. And then again, $1.7 trillion, $1.6 or so trillion in spending cuts. Now, with respect to the CBO score, that score solely is referring to the tax cut. So there's been a deliberate bad faith substitution argument that's been made here, where you have certain people, some libertarians, making bad faith arguments saying, oh, the CBO says it's going to explode the debt. The CBO says it's going to explode the deficit, and then therefore, because there's all this pork in the bill. No, there's no pork in the bill. The bill's been public for weeks. Every single provision is just one campaign pledge, one promise, one campaign vow after another. Right? The only new spending in the bill is to secure the homeland of the United States and save American sovereignty, fully paid for, by the way, by increased visa fees on foreigners. But the CBO score is just what they say is the cost of extending the 2017 Trump tax cut. For my entire life, every conservative fiscal voice has understood that not raising taxes doesn't cost anything. In other words, keeping the current tax rates in place has no cost associated with it. So that is a budget gimmick. The bill cuts spending. Now, for people who would say they'd like to add more spending cuts, here's a very important point. There'll be a process in the Senate. We will see what comes out of that process. This bill was never sold to the American people, not in the campaign, not in the transition, as the one great big chance to permanently solve America's debt problem. That kind of process requires significant public buy-in, because you're talking about changing benefit programs that people, rightly or wrongly, rely on and depend upon. It requires significant public education. It requires multiple steps.
I agree with
would
this
be committing
too.
the same.
If you're going to fix the economy, it's going to require tightening of belts in ways that are going to make people shrink. That's what will happen. And it's a long-term process, and it needs to be done. No one wants to do it. No one wants to do it because they're afraid of the next election. Because times will get tight for a lot of folks. No one wants to do it.
Same air in a different direction as Barack Obama did when he campaigned on dealing with the Wall Street housing recession and the housing meltdown, and he came in and did Obamacare. If we just came in and we said, oh, I know we campaigned on fully sealing the southern border, deporting all the illegals, reclaiming our sovereignty, reclaiming our national unity, unleashing American energy, deregulating the economy, extending all these tax cuts and making them permanent and making them bigger. But instead, our first bill is going to be principally a healthcare bill, right? That would be seen as a big switch on the American people, a bad faith switch. So yes, this bill will include very significant, very important welfare reforms and deep substantive spending cuts. But it is a fundamentally bad faith argument to say the tax cut and border bill is now a health care bill.
So the response, though, that some people would say is that why don't you do two reconciliation bills, one in 25 and one in 26? What would your response to that be, Stephen?
If we have a big win right now and we have the wind at our back, then absolutely, we will do another reconciliation bill and another reconciliation bill. And by the way, not having the debt ceiling on the future reconciliation bill, by doing it in this bill, will make it far easier to pass the next bill and the next bill and the next bill, to keep reforming government, to keep delivering conservative policy wins. I want to make one other point. Remember the first day, first week, the first couple weeks of the Trump presidency, when we did the big, beautiful bill version of executive orders, where every campaign promise that we could do was done where we ended DEI, we ended CRT, we ended gender madness, we got the transgender troops out of the military, we sealed the border shut, all of those things. I don't remember anyone, any commentators on the right saying, oh, no, you can't do all your promises all so quickly. You got to titrate it out. Do 3 promises a year. The reconciliation bill is a chance in one fell swoop without eating Democrat votes. So without a filibuster, to be able to codify the very campaign promises that we have done by executive order. So people keep saying, well, why don't you put the executive orders into law? That's what this bill literally does.
Yes.
And one last point. This bill is not a spending bill. So this might shock some in your audience who've been following the commentary online. How much money does this bill appropriate to the Department of Education? $0. How much does it appropriate to left-wing NGOs? $0. How much does it give the Department of Labor? $0. Department of Commerce? $0. The federal workforce? $0. It's not a spending bill. It does not fund the government. It has 2 major fiscal provisions. It expands and makes permanent the tax cuts, and it fundamentally reforms welfare. And the most significant policy provision, which pays for itself,
Hold that thought.
is sealing the southern
We're
border.
going to do 3 minutes exclusively on the podcast and Real America's Voice. Stephen, stay right there. 10 seconds.
I'm gonna wrap this up over here. That was a great explanation from Stephen Miller. He is a gold mine. He's really great. He really is. All right. I have a lot of other stuff that people want me to get to, and I gotta move along here with respect to getting to what's been going on. So I'm gonna start. I want to go through just so you can understand how this fight has been unfolding, because we got a little bit sidetracked there, but that was important work that we're recovering to better understand the bill that Elon has been trashing. And Elon, it starts with Elon over here saying that Trump said that Elon was shown the bill. Elon claims false. This bill was never shown to me even once, and was passed in the dead of night so fast almost no one in Congress could even read it. Representative Andy Ogle says, I'm all for more cuts to the bill. It's big, but it's not beautiful yet. The Senate's job is to make the bill better before sending it back to us. The House job is done to pass DOJ rescissions and the EO codification bills that are collecting dust.
To make some additional. Do you think that there is progress being made in the Senate to get the votes to pass this bill, or are you anticipating that the Senate will make some revision and send it back to the House?
Well, I would say that, from the House perspective, or at least my perspective, it's big. It's not quite beautiful yet. And so maybe this is the opportunity. With Elon coming out criticizing the bill, maybe we'll see some of the senators make some changes, make some additional cuts, and then likely it'll pass, and then it comes back to us. Now, that'll put a few of my House colleagues in a box, but at the end of the day, that's what we promised the American people. And, right now, there doesn't seem to be quite a consensus forming in the Senate as what the direction is going to be. So I think it's kind of, what I'll say is Elon, I think, reset the conversation with his most recent tweets, for better or worse. But again, I think the Mike Lees and some of the more conservative senators, that emboldens them to try to get more, again, make it truly big and beautiful, not just big. Because right now it's rather large. But I think there's the opportunity for them to improve the bill, to make some additional cuts. You'll see some of those more conservative senators come online, and of course the House votes on it. But like you said, I don't know that the votes are there if it were to be voted on today as is.
Interesting. So there you go. And he retweeted Donald saying, no member of Congress should be eligible for re-election if our country's budget is not balanced. Deficits not allowed. And he said in 2013, I cannot believe Republicans are extending debt ceiling. I'm a Republican. I'm embarrassed. And then there's all these other quotes from Donald saying we could use a balanced budget amendment. Debt ceiling, sometimes no deal is better than a bad deal. And other times that Donald has basically said that we need to have a balanced budget before he was president. All of them going back to like 2012, 2011, 2013. That when Barack was in power, that he was all for balancing the budget, but now less so. The Trump administration should recognize Elon's point about the budget and build a bridge with him and the majority of Americans who want to see us cut spending. Here's what the administration should say or do. We hear you, Elon. We're going to sharpen our pencils and iterate on BBB to address the Americans' people's concerns over the debt. Take the off-ramp. And this is a clip of Trump saying that he would have won Pennsylvania without Elon. And Elon reposted, "What a waste of time by our president. Rather than making this about Elon, he should simply make clear the conditions under which this bill will reduce the deficit, how he will create those conditions. He was elected to lead, not fight with citizens." All day, Elon has been going after Trump ever since that meeting he had with the German High Chancellor. Wall Street Mav saying, "I fully agree with Elon. Simply hope this doesn't create long-term damage between Elon and Trump." Remember this.
Did he call? He never even mentioned it to me. Never. Did Elon call yet? They said, "No, sir." The next day, "What about Elon? Did he call?" He never even mentioned it to me, never complained. Until this moment, I'm just bringing it up. Who would do that? Yeah. He has never asked me for a thing. And he's built this great company, and he shouldn't be penalized because he's a patriot. He's an incredible patriot. And I don't even know if he's a Republican. I really don't.
Mr. President, Mr. President.
Elon call yet?
The spatting is theatrics. It's Trump trying to show he and Elon are distancing so Elon can reestablish himself in Tesla and in Dem's eyes. I think that's very possibly true. HPGKMC says, "Be ashamed if everyone liked, shared, and subscribed." Joe, here's a few shekels. Treat Lady Lawgic to an ice cream. Oh, that's so kind of you. Thank you. If you can, please like, share, and subscribe. I don't think anyone else is even trying to give you the content I'm giving you. I don't think they are. So, if you could do that, I would be most obliged. Elon Musk 2021, the federal budget. You can't just spend $3 trillion more than you earn every year and don't expect something bad to happen. Something's got to give. And there's a quote from him from 2011.
The federal budget deficit is insane. It's like $3 trillion federal expenditures are $7 trillion. Federal revenue is $4 trillion. That's a $3 trillion difference in. If this was a company, it'd be a $3 trillion loss. So. I don't know if we should be adding to that loss. That seems pretty crazy. Something's got to give. You can't just spend $3 trillion more than you earn every year and expect, don't expect something bad to happen. I think, this is not good. The deficit is more than $3 trillion when you look at the future obligations. So it's $7 trillion of current expenditures, but it's much more than that if you look at future obligations for Social Security, Medicare, and so forth. So we're running this incredible deficit. Something's got to give. I don't know. This can't keep going. The federal budget deficit.
So this was going on all day. Rand Paul agreeing with him. Autism Capital being retweeted when they said Elon's Republican, probably saying he doesn't care about the EV tax credit since last year. This is direct from Forbes. Both he and Trump have also publicly together said during speeches and rallies the narrative that this tip is because of EV credits is false. And I agree with that. I don't think that's because of EV credits. I don't think that's what it's about. And if this fight is real, which I know a lot of you think it's not, and there's good reason to think it may not be. That would be a way for Trump to swipe at Elon and give Elon a chance to swipe back at him. Elon's saying, keep the EV solar incentive cuts in the bill. Also, cut all the crazy spending increases in the big ugly bill so America doesn't go bankrupt. Re-quoting Amuse saying he's not wrong. I want to scroll up to where this is. I'm going upward in Elon's thread. These are all things Elon has shared out today. And we all know he tweets like a maniac. Where's the man who wrote these words? Was he replaced by a body double? Donald Trump in 2013. And here's, I have a plan to cut spending, increase spending. He's going after him hard. He's going after him hard all day. And he gets more aggressive later. It's a 9-minute clip of John Thune talking about how we need to balance the budget. Speaker Johnson saying that there's an endless cycle of out-of-control deficit spending. Which should I click? Which should I click? Which should I click? Which should I click? All right, it's Elon's site. So I'm going to go with the underdog here. I think the underdog is Donald Trump. All right. This is what he said about Jared. What Elon Musk is doing is generally heroic. He'll win no friends in politics, will be ostracized by the current administration, but he's totally right. We, the Western world, simply cannot go on pretending our way out of life. Our way of life is sustainable. Historically, countries build up surpluses in peacetime and then go into debt to fight wars. We're going into more and more debt during peacetime. Clever economists will tell you this is sustainable. It is not, and someone has to do something about it. Elon was wearing thin. I asked him to leave. I took away his EV mandate that forced everyone to buy electric cars that nobody else wanted, that he knew for months I was going to do, and he just went crazy. Such an obvious lie. So sad. This would both end the International Space Station and simultaneously provide no way to safely deorbit it. When Trump sent out the easiest way to save money on our budget, billions and billions of dollars, to terminate Elon's governmental subsidies and contracts. I was always surprised that Biden didn't do it. This is where we got personal. Time to drop the really big bomb. Real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. So this is where he started getting very, very personal, obviously. Now, I'll share with you something that came out of locals here. David Schoen. David Schoen, who represented Trump in at least one, I think the New York case, in criminal case, says, I was hired to lead Epstein's defense as his criminal lawyer 9 days before he died. He sought my advice for months before that. I can say authoritatively, unequivocally, and definitively that he had no information to hurt President Trump. I specifically asked him. So, yeah, that's from David Schoen. Again, David Schoen, to be fair, you have to know your source. He is a lawyer, a very skilled lawyer, who also represented Trump in criminal cases. So perhaps some people might want to take this with a grain of salt, but this is his representation about Trump regarding Epstein. I will share with you. I attended the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. Maybe there's stuff that didn't come up in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. Maureen Comey was certainly trying to protect everyone associated with him. So maybe Trump was lumped in there as someone who's being protected by Maureen Comey along with the Clintons and countless other individuals. But from the flight logs I saw, which was all of them, Trump used that plane of Epstein's like it was an Uber to go from New Jersey to Miami, Miami to New Jersey, Teterboro. So not Miami, West Palm Beach. From Palm Beach, it would be PBI, Palm Beach to Teterboro, Teterboro to Palm Beach. His name came up like 8 times, I think, on the flight logs. And it was basically like, oh, you're a friend of mine who likes me and is willing to loan me his private jet rather than me chartering my own flight. I'm just going to borrow your jet. Is that cool, Jeff? Yeah, sure. That's the nature of the relationship. Nothing nefarious at all was implied in anything. And if anything, I thought it served well to exonerate him from some of the videos that we're going to see reference being made to by Elon in just a moment. Here's him re-quoting Trump.
Patriot. Here's a man that I can tell you, he's a friend of mine. He's become a friend of mine. He supported me in the election. That's when I got to know him. Really, I knew him a little bit from the first term, but not much. But he's a patriot more than anything else. He's never think of it. He has never asked me for a thing. He could have. I always say, I wonder if he's ever going to ask me for something. And that's always subject to change. And if it does change, I'll let you know about it. But Elon has never asked me for a thing. I mean, I got rid of the electric car mandate. I have no idea how that affects him, but possibly not good. I don't know. But he's never asked me for a thing. And I think that's an amazing tribute. I did get activated last week when I saw what they were doing. I said, he makes an incredible product, and we're going to go out and tell people.
So Elon sharing out how this is done, and this is President Trump admitting that it was never about the EV mandate that Trump today claimed it was about, which leads me to believe that I think this gives more fuel to the claim that this is a manufactured fight. Still going through his timeline from today, Elon's timeline from today. I don't know what this clip is. Let's see what we got.
And Bill Gates had just taken us some huge short on. There was a story that I read about him that really affected me, which was when he was talking to Bill Gates. And Bill Gates had just taken us some huge short on Tesla. It was like $1 billion short or something. And, and Elon was like, why would you do that? Why would you short Tesla? And Bill goes, well, I talked to my financial advisors and I looked at the math and there's no way it's overvalued. And so I'm going to make money on the short. And Elon goes, what do you care about making money? I thought you were into electric cars and climate change and saving the world. What are you doing, like trying to save a few bucks and betting against? And he just walked away in disgust. And I think he never talked to Bill Gates after that. And that's when I realized, Elon's a purist. He means what he says. Like, the money is a tool for him to get what he's trying to do. And so I take him at face value, which is the crazy thing, because there are a lot of people who set these audacious goals to inspire people, but you kind of know they don't really mean it. Elon, I take at face value. So I really do think he intends to get to Mars. I don't think he's joking about that. And I think he means to get there within a defined window of time. And I don't think it's just like an inspirational faraway goal. I think he's very, very concretely going to do whatever it takes, because Elon doesn't want to go down in history as the electric car guy or even the guy who saved America guy.
Yeah.
He wants to go down as a guy who got humanity to the stars.
Yeah.
And I don't think, again, I'll give him more credit than that. I don't even think he wants to go down as the I got humanity to the stars guy. He's just like, I want to get to the stars. And so I have to make it happen in this lifetime. The only way that I get to experience the science fiction world in my head is if I get to the stars. And so that's so inspirational. I think that drives everything. So I think the government was just a thing that got in his way.
There you go. Elon sharing that out as well. Let me cover a couple more of these. Remember when Tesla was losing billions of dollars a year and was basically only afloat from government subsidies? Fair enough. Lacey saying, go to Musk's page 2 hours ago. Musk posted relax guides. It was a prank. Trump replied, calm down, everybody. It was a prank. A beautiful prank reposted by Doge designer. Trump tariffs will cause a recession in the second half of the year. This is what he shared out also, which is Natalie F. Danielson. I don't know who she is, chess chick. In 1992, Trump party with Jeffrey Epstein. Just going to leave this here. It's got 388,000 likes and 52,000 retweets.
The Miami Dolphins of a Mar-a-Lago party shows Trump giving Epstein his personal attention.
Donald, Donald, Donald,
The footage, shot in November of 1992, before Trump opened the resort as a club, shows the future president surrounded by cheerleaders for the Buffalo Bills and Miami Dolphins, capturing Trump's fun-loving bachelor lifestyle.
Still dances the same way.
Faith Daniels' NBC talk show.
We're going to get great ratings in your show.
Trump is surrounded by women as music blares in the background. After a while, Trump goes to greet 3 new guests. Among them, the financier Jeffrey Epstein.
Come on in. Go inside.
More than a decade before his guilty plea on
More than a
state
decade.
prostitution charges.
More than a
Later in the
decade
footage,
before.
Trump is seen talking to Epstein and another man as women are dancing in front of them. Trump alternates between dancing and pointing out women to Epstein and the other man and telling Epstein about the cameras. Though exactly what they say is difficult to understand as they discuss the women and their appearances, Trump gestures
I don't
to
know how you
one
know that.
and appears to say to Epstein, "Look at her back there. She's hot." And then Trump says something else into Epstein's ear that makes him double over with laughter. As the president said,
Oh, he made her laugh. Oh, he made Epstein laugh. Oh, okay, Joe. What would your theory be? For what reason would Trump and Elon manufacture a fight? Oh, that's simple. That's simple. The reason to manufacture a fight would be so that Elon gets back the love of the left. They stop burning down his factories, and his cars. So, I mean, he stands to make billions of dollars by manufacturing a fight. That's for starters. That doesn't even include money for them coming back to people coming back to X. There's a lot to be gained for him by distancing himself from Trump. So this is him sharing out more and more of this stuff. I'm not going to have 5 minutes of 10 minutes of Rand Paul. This is hilarious. Slow news day. What are we even going to talk about? JD Vance. He's funny. He's genuinely funny. If America goes broke, nothing else matters.
Left for anything. Yeah. So that's the reason. Because if the country goes insolvent, if all the money is just spent on paying interest on debt, there's no money left for anything. Yeah. So that's the reason I'm doing this, is because I was looking at the big picture here, and it's like, man, our debt's getting out of control. The interest payments, the interest on the national debt now exceeds the entire Defense Department budget.
$1 trillion a year in
Yes.
interest, just to carry the money that we owe is $1 trillion a year.
Yes.
That is unbelievable.
And rising rapidly. So like, a country's no different from a person. Country overspends, country goes bankrupt. Same as a person who overspends goes bankrupt. So it's not like optional to solve these things. It's essential. So
We're going to go bankrupt.
yes,
Yeah, we are.
because
There you go, which is obviously popular with CPAC. I'm trying exactly use Elon does ketamine, Trump on Epstein's list. I don't know, 80% in the middle, but a new political party I'm down with. So Lacey said there was another thing from him. Let me refresh. Because it came after I pulled this up. I didn't see that. But I think it's very possibly a prank. I think it's very possibly a prank. Why would Comey try to protect Trump? I don't know. I'm just throwing out there she was protecting everyone. Maybe by bringing in Trump, she brings in other people. Elon will look the other way on child stuff. Grapes. So long as he gets paid. That's what he told the world today. I think that's a harsh assessment. Any Trump supporter knows all Epstein connections already. It is non-story. It is very much a non-story. I agree with you on that. Trump, Musk never asked anything from me, never even invited me over for a cup of coffee. Can't go to Mars if they keep burning down your cars and company. Yeah, I think he does think that it's slowing him down. Seriously need help talking to my 20-year-old son about the Israeli-Hamas conflict. He's saying the story started with Israeli soldiers and that it never happened again. Yeah, I feel bad for your son. I'm not covering that tonight. But yeah, the Palestinians have no interest in having a state. Their interest is solely in eradicating Israel. They were offered a state 9 times. There's no other group of people which were in the history of humankind which was offered a state which said no, except for Palestinians. They were offered a state 9 times. The reason they said no is because Israel would still exist. So, and then they basically took 200 hostages and said, we're never releasing them. So what would you do? What would you think is appropriate if you saw that hundreds of Americans were taken hostage by Mexico and hidden in caves? What lengths do you think America should go to recover those Americans? What if it's your kid, your sibling, is taken hostage by Mexico? What lengths would you want your government to go to recover them? And no matter how much you bruise and fight to get them back, they're like, no, we're not releasing them for over a year. What lengths would you think is appropriate? It's really that simple. Even back in the 90s, Trump was talking about ratings. Today was best ratings he'll ever get. It. Fair enough. Century, bro. God bless you, brother. I should put up there a thing saying that, like, the numbers got high. The numbers got high. But God bless you. Thank you so very, very much. Yeah. That I don't even think I don't know if you joined late, you might not even realize that I said I put out there that if I hit my goal, that tomorrow I'm supposed to be in the war room with Owen Schroyer. I was invited on. I'm supposed to be on there at 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern. And I'll be talking about Diddy with him, I think for an hour. Last time he said he wanted me for an hour, and I only had a half hour to give him. But I think so that was when I started at like 4:30. So this time, or 5:30, I think he wants me on there for an hour. So I said that if, in fact, we reach our goal today, which we just hit the 2-hour mark, within 2 hours, in that case, I'm going to give a shout out to the chat as being the most awesome chat. And also that whoever gives the biggest super chat whoever gives the most money tonight, that I was going to call them out individually. Yeah. So J.H. Schwalbach and Jim Tells You got into like a bidding war, which Schwalbach actually took the lead. But I will tell you that I texted Jim saying, don't try to fight him. I think Schwalbach's like it was 175 and 100, and he sent a few other chats. I think he's around $300 or so. So not that I think that was your motivation at all for sending this. I think you're just really awesome and very big fan of the show, and I very much appreciate you. So I just wanted to clarify in case there was any confusion on that. But I also told Jim Tells You, I texted him at a certain point tonight saying, I don't want you going into a bidding war with Schwalbach. I'm gonna plug Jim Tells You tomorrow, God willing. I'm gonna pray I remember and make a little note to myself. But I'll mention both of them. So 285,000 views, 9,800 loves, 1,700 retweets. Go to his page. I pay for his site. But Doge Design reposted it. It was a prank. Oh, it was Doge Designer. It was not on his thing. That's what you're trying to tell me. All right, let me see if I can find that. Democrats trying to sleep. Elon Musk. President Trump aides for his scheduled Friday call with Elon. Look how I broke the internet with just one post on X. He did break the internet. America's on the verge of 37 trillion national debt. Elon and Trump had the chance to do the funniest thing ever. That's this. I don't think this is real. I don't think this is real. This is like another one of those fake things. I don't think Elon really sent it out. I don't think that really went out. I still think it's a prank. I still think I'm leaning towards it being fake. But we'll never know. Because if it's fake, then they want us to think it's real. Hey, Jude. Nah, 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 nah. Great to catch you live again. Thank you, John. Catching up at triple speed. Wow. That's not easy. I've been following the kind of retrial lately. Diddy trial is a bit too dark for me. It got dark today. It got really dark. I appreciate you popping in here, brother. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I still have more links. Just so you have an idea, I'm 2 hours and 5 minutes into this show right now. I'm 2 hours and 5 minutes in, and I'm up to this one. I'm working in this order. I'm this one. We got to start moving through. What was this? President versus Elon, who wins? My money's on Elon. Oh, that was okay. We don't need this. I covered that. Okay, so I want to start getting to how people are reacting to it. I mentioned early on, this is Congress reacting to it. I mentioned this very early in the show. Here's Mike Johnson talking about his involvement. Oh, fan says Hermeet Dillon had a good oral argument in First Circuit today. I posted a link in locals. Oh, cool. Good job, Hermeet. I didn't have a chance to check. I've been very busy. I'll try to check it out, though.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to get into details of personal conversations, but you've already spoken. You spoken this morning? No, I'm going to call Elon right now.
Could I ask you, so I mean, based on...
Yeah, look, I'm not going to get into details of personal conversations, but
you've already
spoken.
You spoken this morning?
No, I'm going to call Elon right now.
Could I ask you, so I mean, based on this White House meeting, they have problems with some of the tax on tips, the overtime, assaults, IRA, I mean, the Senate. I mean, it does seem like, you guys are farther apart than you would like to be, certainly than you would like.
Things are not always what they seem, okay? There's very fruitful conversations going on between the senators in the White House and between all of us. So I'm just as optimistic as I've been from the beginning. I'm convinced we're going to meet this deadline that we've stated to get at the president's desk by Independence Day. And there's a lot of work going on around the clock for that. Yeah.
So it's hard to hear, but what I know the volume sucks. I know that was terrible. But basically what he says, he's on his way to call Elon Musk. So whatever that's worth. In light of the president's statement about cancellation of my government contract, SpaceX will begin decommissioning its Dragon spacecraft immediately. Well, someone shared this with me, but it was an hour long, so we're not doing that. Definitely not doing that. Charlie Kirk with the drop. Okay, here we go.
Honestly, I'm so sick of this. First of all, as you know, President Trump and Elon Musk are fighting. I have a lot of respect for both of them and very thankful for what Elon did for purchasing X. Just so you know, President Trump's name was actually in the Epstein files going back to February. That's right. In February, they were there. And look, this idea that he's on the clients list or some nonsense, being in Palm Beach, of course you're going to be listed in a long document. He was once friends with Jeffrey Epstein, and then he kicked him out of his club for being creepy towards young girls. It's very important to note that all this online nonsense, just go and look back. President Trump's own administration released Epstein files back in February where his own name was mentioned, not as a criminal, not as doing anything wrong, in fact, for acting correctly and properly. You must separate fact from fiction on this. It's too bad Elon and Trump are fighting. In fact, I did an entire episode on this, an entire podcast on this that I hope you guys check out. But no, oh my goodness, Donald Trump's in the Epstein files. You know what? Maybe you should actually go read the Epstein files that are already publicly available. And yes, President Trump was mentioned in no criminal way whatsoever. And we're trying to also believe that after 10 years, they finally got Donald Trump in some way because he's being accused by Elon because there's like this massive social media food fight. Not true. Total BS.
That's what it
fake
is.
news.
It is a social media
And,
food fight.
We stand with Team America as President Trump continues to fight for the future of Western civilization.
So being very political there, and I mean political not in the sense of covering politics, but not getting into, not trying to avoid picking sides. Yes, me. Here's Megan Kelly talking about her thoughts about the legitimacy of this fight.
And it was really crazy, so crazy, Sean, because I walked out, we agreed, like, we're good. And the last thing he said to me before I walked out of Trump Tower was, you know, Megan, it's not such a good thing if they're not talking about us. And I was like, oh my God, was this whole thing for show? Like, was he acting the whole time to generate buzz? And it was really crazy, so crazy, Sean, because we
Yeah. It's possible. He's a showman. He's a showman. I think I think, as far as Trump tariffs causing a recession, I'm not saying we're not going to have a recession, but saying that's because of the tariffs, I don't know why that would cause a recession. Walk me through why that would cause a recession. A lot of people have been speculating about a recession for a long time. But you got to walk me through. Now, here is Mike Benz talking about the FEUD and his thoughts on it. I don't know if we're going to go to the full 10 minutes.
Coalition together, and what's happening right now is really stupid, and I think can be pretty easily put back together if it's done quickly. I'm going to talk about that. But really, this is going to have two parts to it.
Assuming that if it's a manufactured fight, they're going to be staying fighting. If it's a non-manufactured fight, they may stay fighting the way Jimmy Johnson and Jerry Jones did, as I covered in the beginning of the show.
The first is an acknowledgement that Elon has been the secret weapon behind Trump 2.0, really from early in the campaign into the first 4 months of the administration. And I know...
No, really from like 2021 or 22 when he bought X. Really then, because that enabled him to gain social media, enabled Trump to gain social media clatter. Because I'll tell you right now, with everything that we learned from the Twitter files, there's no way that you would have gotten the same kind of buzz around Trump when he was getting indicted, if not for the fact that Elon owned X. So really it starts there. That's really where it starts. But then, obviously, during the final 4 months there, the push that Elon made in the last 4 to 6 months, since the Butler rally, really, Elon was the most significant factor in Trump getting the landslide needed to overcome, make it too big to rig. What the heck is this? What is this? Is Ron pregnant with Elon's love child? I need to know if it's true. Probably not. That's not a bad Ron Coleman, though. That's really not by AI standards. That's pretty good. Ron Coleman is always complaining that it looks like it's a combination of him and that guy from Mary Tyler Moore, Ed Asner. It looks like it's a combination of Ed Asner and Ron Coleman, but pretty good. Brian Oldenkamp, oh my God. Gifting 20 Good Lawgic memberships, 20 new followers. I can't go through the whole, I don't have time to go through the whole, I have a lot of ground to cover. You see I got this 10-minute clip here? I don't have time to do the whole thing. Thank you. Those of you new to the following, let me see if I can get to your names really quick just to run through it. The following people should express their gratitude to the awesome Brian Oldenkamp for his very, very generous and remarkable gift. Who do we got here? Who do we bring into the following? Following people were gifted memberships courtesy and new follower status courtesy of Brian Oldenkamp. That includes SB Farmer 8, Delilah Carbajal, Edwin Lundstrom, Catastrophia. You should be saying thank you to Brian if you hear your name called out, because he just was very generous. He brought you into like pretty much the greatest group you can ever hope to be a part of. Rana, April Betts, Suze Ash, Dark Tech, Jeff on the Road, ME, Replicant 182, VT, Wayfaring Man, Shia Eisenman is a personal friend of mine. I know him in real life. It's true. Angela, oh yeah, CDZ 9000, Mr. Beard, Brendan, Zombie Bomb, and Brown Eyed Girl 714. Welcome to the following. God bless you. God bless you indeed, Brian. You're awesome. Thank you so very, very much. Name 9. Polarize the people. Controversy is the game. It doesn't matter if they hate you, if they're saying your name. And that's true. If the people are not talking about you, that means you're dead. Case in point, no one talks about Thomas Crapper, even though they should. He's dead. More, you can look it up. It's a real person. More U.S. foreign Fed government debt, more interest payments, more taxes to pay off the interest. It's called a debt trap. At least this is money being spent in a direction that we can agree on, right? Implementing policies that we never saw before, like increasing ICE. Okay, I'll ask you this. Is it not helping save money if ICE is effective in removing 3 million people because of this bill? Is that factored in here? Is that factored in? Just saying. 5 million people. I don't know. Whatever number of people. If they're effective in removing millions of illegal aliens, is that not saving us money? Whether it's on Social Security, whether it's on ABC, on so many different ways, healthcare, so many different ways that it saves us money. Is that factored into the equation? So I think it should be.
I know everyone knows the facts of this, but they're bears repeating. Donald Trump was facing 1,000 years in prison. 1,000 years in prison, 91 felony counts. And not only that, there was no platform to be able to even talk about Trump-related campaign issues. It was not until Elon bought X that you could talk freely about election interference, that you could talk freely about the COVID era, that you could even publish disclosures that were embarrassing.
And he's making a really good, astute point here, as Mike Benz often does, which is once X started allowing these conversations, YouTube became less restrictive. Facebook became less restrictive. All the other social media platforms felt obligated to compete with X by relaxing their very onerous standards as to what you could say. So he basically pulled a stopper out of restricted censoring conversation and forced social media to respond.
To the blob, the complete lockdown on big tech, and the refusal of any platform to actually allow a way to publish information meant if there was no X when Trump got shot in the face, if you had posted about that, they could have just labeled everything misinformation or misleading context. People forget just how big a lock the blob had on all speech. So you could not even run a campaign that way unless you had Elon there. And then you have the fact that he was the top financial.
Fans want to know if I'm saying that Trump would not have won without Elon. Okay, so when you talk about what Elon did for free speech, I think that without that, I don't think he wins. But to be fair, I don't think Elon's objective when he bought X was to free speech up specifically for Donald Trump. So I think you can make the claim that without Elon, he doesn't win. or it's stolen from him again, much as it was in 2020. I think that's a very easy claim to justifiably make. However, not all the things he did that benefited Donald Trump were done specifically for Donald Trump. Because even if Donald Trump said, I'm never running again, and had never been indicted, Elon would have done the things with free speech that he did. So as far as him directly trying to help Trump, if we remove that portion of Elon's work, would Trump have won? I don't know. I don't know. There, it's a little bit more so-so. Because he had a lot of. And Kamala was a terrible candidate. So, yeah, and he had a lot of upswing. And the economy was disastrous. People are angry about the illegal aliens. So even if Elon doesn't jump in to have direct support for him. But if Elon doesn't buy X and give his direct support, I'll tell you right now, I don't think Trump wins. So if Elon's never born, or Elon decides to stay like the rest of the billionaires and do their thing, I don't think he wins. That's a good poll. I'm gonna put that up there. I'm gonna put that in. That's a great poll. I'm curious what you guys think. That's just my personal opinion. You guys might have different opinions, which could be legitimate. So I'm gonna put that poll up there. I'm curious what you guys think. That's just my personal opinion. You guys might have different opinions, which could be legitimate. I hear an echo. Start a poll. Does Trump win a second term without Elon? Yes. I'm going to refer to this Elon's direct support and indirect support. Direct support means Elon coming out campaigning and giving money and stuff like that. Indirect is freeing up free speech by buying X and the steps he took with that. So I'm going to have, and my options are, he needed Elon's direct and so I call that needed Elon's direct and indirect. That would be a yes. No, so that'd be a no. That'd be a no. No, need Elon direct. No, need or yes, you would win without it. There you go. There's your poll, and you can weigh in you can weigh in the other in the ghetto as well. Jay says, I don't need a one shout. I just enjoy the game. I'll never give you money to get something except a good laugh. You're awesome. You're awesome. Thank you, brother. Ben says calling night X was fun today. Thanks Elon Musk and Real Donald for bringing back the mojo. It was fun. It was fun indeed.
Backer,
Good night, brother.
the fact that he took unbelievable risk. And not only that, he opened the door for the entire business and investment community to come in safely behind and
watch this whole
themselves have the bravery, feeling like Elon and his enterprises and his philosophy would help amplify theirs. I think he helped bring, for example, the little tech coalition out of its shell to come and support Donald Trump. I think I know that he also paved the way for Mark Zuckerberg's support, for Jeff Bezos to do what he did.
Okay, so I think we covered this. He starts talking, and I finished it up. So I think we cover what he's saying here. We need to move on. Since everyone else posted my video for TikTok, I should probably post it myself. This was shared with me by a bunch of folks. So let's see what we got here. I haven't listened to this yet.
So are you guys ready to watch perhaps the most amazing event of political contortionism that you've probably...
I hear a ringing. Do you guys hear ringing? I hear ringing. Like all of a sudden my ears are ringing. It's in my headphones. I don't know why that started. I hope you guys don't hear that. I hope it's only me. Christians believe Pentecost fulfills Shavuot. Shavuot law was given, 3,000 men died. Covenant established, first fruits. Torah, Pentecost, Holy Spirit given, 3,000 men saved, first fruits of the church, new covenant gospel. Whoa. I never heard any of this before. I mean, I know first fruits is Shavuot. Yeah, that's in Torah. I know about the 3,000 men dying, but that's not Shavuot. That's a month. That's 40 days later by the whole golden calf thing. I never heard anything. Wow, this is. I thought Pentecost was the English name for Shavuot. You're telling me it's a different holiday that's created that was born under Christianity. That's interesting. Now I need to look into this a lot more because you piqued my curiosity with this one, John. I gotta look that up. But it's not for now. But thank you. Appreciate that. Dear leader, can we really have differing opinions? Thank you, dear leader. You're so gracious. I prefer differing opinions. Fans saying, now to end the show, but left will say, we won. The circus came around once a year. Who cares? Never worry about them. Never worry. All right, let's get back to this thing that everyone's sharing, supposedly.
So are you guys ready to watch perhaps the most amazing event of political contortionism that you've probably ever seen in your entire life? This feud that's developing between Donald Trump and Elon Musk is getting ready to twist the radical left into the biggest pretzel you've ever seen. You're getting ready to watch an entire political party who spent the better part of this year firebombing his dealerships, destroying Tesla vehicles, and protesting every weekend because Elon Musk was aligned with Donald Trump. And now that there's a feud developing, they love him. But what they don't seem to understand is the feud that's being developed is because Elon Musk wants more cuts, more spending cuts. He wants his Doge cuts codified, and the big beautiful bill doesn't go far enough. And now what's going to happen is Donald Trump and Elon Musk are going to waltz the radical left into suddenly defending Elon Musk and demanding the cuts that Elon Musk wants to see in big beautiful bill materialize. So a party who opposed Doge, an organization and a group of people who hated Elon Musk for finding waste, fraud, and abuse are suddenly going to be supporters of Elon Musk.
That's hilarious.
And are going to be advocating for the cuts that didn't make it into the bill because they want to see Donald Trump lose this feud.
That's hilarious.
And that, folks, is the genius of the Donald Trump show your ass theory.
That's hilarious.
See what they're doing?
That's hilarious. That is pretty genius. That is pretty genius. That's pretty cool. This we covered. Who's this? I don't know.
Anyone? I want him.
Well, I was just chilling by the pool, but then Elon Musk went and said this, and holy shit. Elon Musk says, time to drop the really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files, and that is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. I'm sorry, what? I really hope Elon has some evidence to back that up. And let me just be clear about this. If he does have evidence and Donald Trump is in those files and we find out he was on that island or he was doing anything to anyone, I want him removed from office immediately, and I want him prosecuted along with everyone else in those files.
Agreed.
However, if this is Elon just trying to be a smartass, bro, this is going to end your career. This will result
How about
in
that?
the largest libel lawsuit in the fucking history of lawsuits. Like, you're going to lose your platform, your companies, probably every fucking cent you have. Just fucking wow. Like I said, if it's true, nail him to the fucking wall. However, if you have no evidence whatsoever to back this up, yeah, Elon, you're gonna need some fucking lawyers. Like, a lot of them.
Interesting thought. Does this push Donald into having to sue him for libel? It's an interesting thought. Fans, says Pentecostals believe on Pentecost the Holy Spirit came down and brought us the Holy Spirit. Read Bible Acts. Oh, so that explains a little bit more. That explains a little bit more. I support real Donald Trump and Elon Musk. They should make peace the benefit of our great country. We are much stronger together than apart. Elon Musk saying you're not wrong. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows? Here's CNN celebrating. I don't know if we're going to watch all 10 minutes of this. What else was this? This was also shared with me. We'll see. We'll see. It's getting late.
But the most interesting and perhaps important issue, political issue and policy issue, is what President Trump said about his now former friend, at least it seems, Elon Musk. And I want to go to Elena Treen at the White House. Elena, it seems as though we saw kind of the unraveling of a bromance real time. And what our viewers saw was what it turned out to be one side of a fight. The other side was Elon Musk real time using his platform X to respond and kind of push back on many of the things that President Trump said. We're going to show our viewers what happened, but I want you to kind of give a sense of what brought us to this extraordinary moment just a few days after he gave a big glowing goodbye to Elon Musk from the White House.
Yeah, it's not even a week, Dana, since we saw them both praise each other from
so
the Oval
twisted and
Office
nuts.
days later now.
Wait,
and
what are we
actually, the
doing
first
now?
time reporters are actually having the opportunity to ask the president about this. Since that moment, we're now seeing this completely framed relationship on full display. It's very remarkable given just how close I know, my colleagues here at the White House, and I know that the president and Musk have been for months now, really him being one of the president's favorite people on this White House complex. I want to give you a sense just of some of the key things I took away from the president's comments. Overall, though, I would note as well that his tone was strikingly somber when discussing this, and really you could see that it saddened him almost. You could see kind of the emotion in his tone and on his face as he was discussing this. He said, quote, "I've always liked Elon." He said I was very surprised. He said he would have rather had him criticize him directly rather than the spending bill that the president has been working tirelessly with his team to try and muscle through Congress. He said, and this to me was maybe the most notable quote from the president, he said, "Look, Elon and I had being a very key word here, had a great relationship. I don't know if we will anymore." He said he was very disappointed in Musk. He went on to add that Musk knew about the, quote, inner workings of the bill very intimately, and claimed that he only started to take issue with it and had a problem with it once he left the administration. president was speaking. But then he did made this one post linking to a video of the president making these comments about him and said, keep the EV mandates in the bill, but get rid of the pork and the rest of it unannounced whenever he wanted. This is very far from that, and it's very unclear now where this relationship is going to go.
Well, I think we're watching where it's going, and it's going pretty downhill, pretty fast. Elena, thank you so much. I am joined.
They're so excited.
Some really terrific
They're
reporters.
so excited.
That's Kristen Holmes, Josh Dossie of the
Look at her
Wall
smile.
Street Journal.
Look at these
Soleil
idiots.
Hano-Youngs of the New York Times.
This is the first thing in 6 months they have to smile about. This is the first thing in 6 months. They've been waiting to smile for so long. Oh, this whole crew, look at them. One bozo after another. Oh, they're so excited to be smiling for the first time in ages. It's like, oh my gosh, I forgot what it's like to smile. I forgot, but I can't smile too big right here on TV. It's been so long. Look at the smile starting to form. Yeah, he's losing his big money supporter. That's right.
CNN's Kylie Atwood. Let's just start by recapping
These people have not had faces like that in 6. It's like you can see the makeup cracking. Oh, man. I know the poll is confusing. It's meant for the intelligent ones.
Comments that President Trump made about Elon Musk.
You saw a man who was very happy when he stood behind the Oval Desk, and even with the black eye, I said, you want a little makeup? We'll get you a little makeup. But he said, no, I don't think so, which is interesting and very nice. He wants to be who he is, so you could make that statement too, I guess. Look, Elon and I had a great relationship. I don't know if we're well anymore. I was surprised because you were here. Everybody in this room practically was here as we had a wonderful send-off. He said wonderful things about me. You couldn't have nicer. Said the best thing. He's worn the hat. Trump was right about everything. And I am right about the great, big, beautiful bill.
And that's what this is all about right now. And I just want to make that clear to our viewers. I'm sure you understand that this relationship basically exploded yesterday.
And Fans is making a point that he's saying maybe we can do a review whether this is liable when Elon Musk said time to drop the really big bomb that Trump is in the oh no, it ended because I hit a 3-hour mark. I'm sorry, locals folks. It ended. Chat's now disabled. I can't fix that. I'm sorry about that. They're asking whether it's libel because he doesn't say Trump did anything. He just says he's in the Epstein files, which he is in the Epstein files. So is it libel? It's technically true. He didn't say he was committing crimes. I'm speculating that's why it wasn't released. It's a good point. Good point there. Well, good catch. Good catch indeed. If it's true, Elon is a horrible dad for leaving little X with Trump on numerous occasions. They need to be prosecuted. What I would say is he didn't technically call him anything. He didn't say anything. If you read and I think Fans has made a good catch there on that. John Mansell said, 7 Feasts of Israel by Chuck Meisler taught me about the feast Christians believe were filled by in Jesus. I'd love your take on it because I don't know about Judaism to know if it's credible. I don't know what the 7 Feasts of Israel are. I've never heard that term before. So I'm not sure. That's not a term that you'll find in Torah. I've gone through Torah. So I don't think I can give you anything insightful on that because I'm not familiar with that. Sorry about that.
When Elon Musk started really aggressively putting on his social media platform that this bill that he was desperate to get through the Senate after it passed the House is bad. He wrote, kill the bill and many other things. And so you just saw the president say what we just heard. He said, people leave my administration, they love us, and then at some point they miss it so badly. Some of them embrace it. Some of them become hostile. Trump derangement syndrome.
So this is really fascinating because as of yesterday at the
Okay, I see some of you saying he totally called him that. This is what he wrote. Time to drop the really big bomb. It's in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they've not been made public. Have a nice day. That's not saying there's anything more than that. He's in the Epstein files, which he is technically in the files as being in the contact list and the flight logs. There's an implication a lot of people draw. Yeah, hearing CNN weigh in on what TDS is kind of funny. This is awesome.
the exact same time, maybe a few hours later into the afternoon, I spoke to a number of Trump's top advisors who still were unsure of how he was going to respond to Elon Musk. There were still a lot of questions. He was raising questions with them as to, do you think this is just a business decision? Do you think he's lashing out at this because of these electric vehicle mandates? It's probably something he has to do now that he's leaving the government, and it's all about the business. Obviously, Donald Trump likes to make things about money and business, kind of his way of saying, okay, maybe that's what he's doing here. He was angry.
Just because that's how humanity works, and because we're a capitalistic society, thank God.
When that first,
in other words, he has sense, and the rest of you are idiots and liars.
Tweet came out 2 days ago during the briefing, but then he also had a lot of questions as to where this was coming from, because he did believe that Elon knew about the EV mandate. His team does believe that this is all about business, all about the EV mandate, that this is all about these credits that Elon Musk believes are unfair, which he actually
and
just
it's not
tweeted.
just that it's big and full of pork.
Right, it's not pork, it's not what he's saying there. But I think the most telling thing about this is that clearly we've hit a new marker since then, which is we had a great relationship. I don't know if we will anymore.
So
I can tell you
Look
that
at her
members of Trump's
face.
team have reached out
She's
to
so
Elon
excited.
Musk. No response. Donald Trump and Elon Musk have not spoken.
Yeah, and this was bubbling, though, for several months. I mean, Trump had said
They're so
publicly,
stupid.
repeatedly, that
They're
he and
so
Elon are close
stupid.
and vice versa, but there's been lots of frustrations.
How many people get dumber listening to these idiots? And even just look at this guy. Oh my God. He looks like he's from he looks like he's an incarnation from a meme. He's like the cartoon comic book store guy. Oh my God. This is so good. Watching them celebrate. By the way, this is the real reason I'm losing weight. I'm becoming a fat guy. I don't want to ever be thought of as a fat guy. I don't think people respect fat people. That's why I'm losing the weight. Now I'm down at like dad bod type of level. But that was a very big factor. Lady Lawgic wanted me to lose the weight because of health reasons. I was like, nah. I was like, I'm risking like shredding my own respect. People look at me and be like, you can't control your appetite. Why should I? You're not disciplined enough for that. Why should I trust you? I think people look at it that way. This guy's not disciplined around any cheeseburgers, that's for sure. Oh my God. So tell us your thoughts. Weigh in from the people talking to us about what TDS is.
That have happened between the two men over political endorsements, over Elon trying to get a briefing of the Department of Defense, over China, over some of the other staff fights inside the White House. And Trump's team was ready to see Elon go. There's no doubt about it. Trump himself wanted to have an event on Friday and try to have an amicable breakup here, in part because Elon is such a wealthy donor. He's the richest man in the world. He fueled hundreds of millions of dollars for this campaign. He is a political force to a large degree. He controls one of the main ways that Republicans communicate. I mean, unlike some of the relationships Trump has had, a breakup here could hurt him too. I mean, there really is a lot of caution here that I think his people are trying to navigate. Okay, where are we going from here? Because we're playing with live, live rounds.
This is what you were referring to. You see on the screen, this is a video of the two of them in the Oval Office, which, by the way, I don't want to let it go unmentioned that the president made fun of the black eye that Elon Musk had. I mean, that was very clear that he wanted to get that in there. But when it comes to the substance of what we're talking about here, I also want to underscore that they are kind of saying the quiet part out loud with regard to Elon Musk's business interests. And the fact that there was even a question inside the White House, maybe by the president himself, because he just said it in the Oval Office that Elon Musk doesn't like this bill because it's not good for his business. The EV mandate, electric vehicle mandate, goes away. I mean, they're not even pretending that there's no conflict of interest here. And that was one of the things that Musk responded to.
How is there
on
conflict
X
of
Real
interest
Time.
if they're getting rid of the EV mandate? I don't understand that. Quite the contrary. His actions are in opposite to the people who are working with him. Idiots.
He said false.
Stupid.
False, this bill was never shown. Well, first he said that's not about that. And then he said, false, this bill was never shown to me even once and was passed in the dead of night so fast that almost no one in Congress could even read it. That was in response to Trump saying he was disappointed with Musk because he knew the inner workings of this bill better than anyone sitting here.
You had the president in the Oval Office essentially say that Elon Musk's criticism is a matter of personal grievance. It's a matter of the fact that he thinks that this will hurt his business. Elon, up until this point, when he has shared criticism for this bill, has said that it's about undermining really the effort he took to cut federal bureaucracy, reduce the deficit as well. And he said that it's about sort of fiscal responsibility. Here you have the president completely saying that that is not true and that it's really actually about somebody trying to protect his business, which is interesting also because Elon was with the administration when the Trump administration was rolling
I'm
down.
bored. Sorry. I'm bored by these people now. There's only 30 seconds left, but that's 30 seconds too long. So I want to do the Benny Johnson thing. Nah, I'm not gonna do Benny Johnson. I think we got enough. I think we have enough for a review on this. So what are my thoughts, my final thoughts on this before I have one more clip I want to share with you that was given to me by Kathy Jeanette, which I plan on closing out with. I plan on closing the show with this tonight. So my final thoughts on this are, it's very possible that this is all just designed as far as, 4D chess to help Elon gain his distance from Trump for financial reasons or other potential reasons, to turn, like that other guy was speculating, to basically turn the left into knots, where all of a sudden now they're going to be screaming for more cuts. There's a lot of potential great things that can come out of this feud. So there's reasons to think that the feud is manufactured. There's also reasons to believe that two big egos can't hang out with each other for very long. I do think that if the split is of a permanent nature, that it could hurt. I don't want to lose sight of that. It could hurt. In other words, part of the weaponization against Congress was Elon threatening to primary anyone who went against Trump. That's clearly gone as long as there's a public feud going on. So that might embolden the rhinos to be more difficult with Trump. That's a potential downside. Whatever impact Elon was directly making with respect to Doge, as an advisor from the outside, they said he's still going to be, this is just the beginning. A week ago. As long as this feud is going on, it's clearly not just the beginning. So I do think that there are downsides to be concerned about. It's way too early to actually get like a feel for what's going to happen. It really is. It's an enjoyable show to watch as far as just funny, especially with different memes of Trump sending stuff out like it was definitely a Nazi salute. That was hilarious. That was awesome. If you missed that, you can go back in the show when I shared that. That was hilarious. You know it, I know it, everyone knows it was definitely a Nazi salute. That was great. Anyway, I would not have great concerns about this. I don't currently have great concerns about it, although I can see how this could lead to harming Trump's agenda if, in fact, this feud continues into the distant future. Short term, it doesn't have very much impact. Long term, it could. So I think that from the American agenda perspective, and here's the thing, here's another reason I think it's legitimate. If Elon really is not about the money, but he's about reaching his agendas and stuff like that, would they be going to this feud and cutting him off from being able to threaten senators who buck Trump? I don't know. It's really way too early to tell. It's too early to tell. But I will keep you apprised of further developments in this story, because to me this story is fascinating. You have the richest person in human history fighting with the most powerful person on the planet. And that is something which I guess we can better appreciate the dynamo that they are together, right? And hopefully I'd like to see them make up. And Elon already seemed to be implying that, who knows, that he recognizes that they're better off together than against each other. And I have a clip on that before. I'm going to close with that clip on that. But let's do that right now.
I will remember you. Will you remember me?
AI is so amazing, isn't it? I have to do this for yeah. So amazing.
I will remember you.
Oh gosh, stop with the music.
Breaking news. The Epstein files are set to be released this week.
That was good. That was really good. Thank you, Kat, for sharing that. All right. Did I miss anything? It's possible I did. Kim Jong-un posed, screw Elon. I be your rocket man now. But he was saying lock it. So the fight, real fake, and seeing CNN and MSNBC doing victory laps. Oh, they're going to be doing their victory laps. That doesn't mean anything. That's part of the objective, is to have them doing victory laps. That's what they want. Thank you, Curious Angel. You're awesome. Elon is on record. He does not care about EV mandate, but CNN took it hook, line, and sinker. Yep. If it's all true, this will be the death of MMA. We can only hope. Hey, they've got to. Are you not entertained? The bread and circuses are in full swing, indeed. And since there's bread and circuses, you know what that means. You don't have to eat the lab meat. You don't need to touch the lab meat. The lab meat is not meant for you. It's not meant for me. It's not meant for you. It's meant for they, them. That's the only people it's meant for. Also, do not eat the bugs. Don't do it. I'm going to be in the war room tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Mountain, 2 p.m. Pacific, and God knows what else time, depending on what part of the planet you may be in. In which case, if you're in some other part of the planet, which is not one of those 4 time zones, and it's not Alaska, I say woe unto you, because if you're in Hawaii, even they don't allow you to have, they don't recognize the brewing case. They just don't recognize that. So woe unto you. Anyone else, woe unto you. I thank you all for joining me. I look forward to seeing you maybe Saturday night. You'll find that out at goodlogic.locals.com. Massive props to the Diggers for putting together an amazing show. Really great work, you guys. Chef's kiss, as usual. That's at goodlogic.locals.com. If you want to participate, I'm doing this kind of as a Thursday thing. If you want to participate in helping provide me links and give me your thoughts and having more direct contact with me, I urge you sign up at goodlogic.locals.com. At the very least, you should be there to get notifications of where I am. I'll put a notification when I'm in the war room tomorrow. And also massive props to Jim Tells You and Jay Schwalbach for their remarkable support, as well as Century Bro and all of you who contributed. Allegan News, who was sitting here the whole night, and countless others, starting with Pam Ronning. You guys make the show, and I thank you so much. I will see you very soon. Till next time, good night and Godspeed.